What's up, guys? We're back with another podcast episode today. We have another guest, and he is one of the best content creators in the game. Started a journey to go from never playing to pro in 12 months. Currently has less subscribers than me on YouTube, but probably by the end of this has more than me. Welcome, Kyle Kazuda, or that pickleball guy.
And what a wonderful intro. But before we even get started, can we talk, can we all do an impersonation of Chris's What's Up, guys? Can Will and I just go back and forth?
I'll rank you guys.
Okay, you give it to us one more time so I can hear it.
Okay, ready?
Go.
What's up, guys?
What's up, guys?
Let's read again. I don't know if I can top that. What's up, guys?
Okay, see, here's what I find very funny about everyone's impersonation of my What's Up, guys. I have never once in my life thought of my voice as nasally, but ever since I have met you, James, Kyle, everyone defaults to the nasal. So I'm like, it must be a thing.
No,
like,
it's definitely a thing. My girlfriend said this. She was like, oh, gosh, how can you listen to him?
I remember when I think I listened to James do your podcast. I was in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did him on the podcast doing this, but he put his hands over his nose. He's like, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Another paddle review here.
That's so fun. I think the difference in how you believe you're perceived versus how you're actually perceived is just very different.
No, I love listening to my voice.
I believe that, though. I believe that.
Is that why you talk so much, Kyle?
Oh, God. Moving on.
He talks to himself.
Is this video or just we're on video, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not just audio.
Oh, yeah, that's everything.
I can't wait
the whole 9 yards.
Can't wait to watch.
He's going to listen to his voice for 2 hours.
Oh, my God.
Okay, well, Kyle, there are a lot of people who probably listen to the podcast, don't know your background. So
I doubt it.
I was hoping you'd say I have more followers than you, so don't worry about it. But I'd like to just talk about specifically your former sports background. We'll get through kind of your whole background, but I know you used to play basketball. Just kind of walk us through that. Like, was it from a kid up to what age? Like, what did that whole thing look like?
I think so. Yeah, great question. I started playing basketball probably when I was 4, and I played basketball, soccer.
Dang. 4?
4, yeah.
I don't even think I was able to walk until I was like 6.
Well, I don't know what to say to that. No, but I started playing around 4, and I played basketball, soccer, tennis. I played t-ball, but realized baseball is a horrible sport, so I immediately got rid of that. And then when I got to middle school, basketball and soccer coincided the same season, so I just played basketball and tennis. And then when I got to 9th grade, I was still playing basketball and tennis. Played 1 year of high school tennis in 9th grade. And that was the last time I played tennis, pretty much. And then I played basketball through high school. I played basketball in AU travel scene, and then played basketball into college. Played 4 years college basketball. The only other thing I didn't mention was I did play pretty competitive ping pong with my brother. We had a table growing up, and I remember every week I was like, "Mom, can we find a ping pong tournament somewhere?" And she's like, "Well, Kyle, look it up." And she would look it up, and I grew up in Florida, and there'd be like 80 plus ping pong tournaments, and I wanted nothing more than to go to one of those tournaments. My mom, we were just like,
Did you end up no?
I never did. I mean, that was
I think you would have got smoked.
I would have got smoked because I know those 80-year-olds, it's like pickleball. First time I ever played pickleball, I was playing with a guy named his name is Jim, and we're on the court, and he was 80 plus. And it's this common story. So many people have this story. You go out there and you're like, "What's up, Jim?" I turn to my partner. I'm like, "This guy's gonna be trash. I'm gonna take it easy on him."
Ping pong is definitely one of those sports where if you see it live at a professional level, it is kind of mind blowing how fast that ball is moving. When you're in person, it's crazy.
I think if you watch all the racket sports,
in
tennis,
person?
Pickleball, table tennis, and maybe some of the other ones that are kind of in between
racquetball,
everything.
squash.
Badminton.
Badminton for sure.
I think table tennis probably looks the most impressive to the average person.
Yeah, because you're just
because it's so fast, and you like tennis. It's hard to understand how quick that ball is moving on the screen. Pickleball, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Table tennis, it's like the ball's just flying all the time.
Yeah, it looks so fast already on screen, and then in person, it's just mind blowing.
But have you guys ever seen speed chess? That's fast. I played it the other day, and I was like, I'm trying to work on my mental game of pickleball.
I mean, I don't know. You're talking to a world-class speed cuber here. I mean, when I see the blur of those colors going around, I'm like, and then it's just solved. I was like, no, you totally took that apart and put it back together, and you somehow sped it up in time lapsed or something because you tricked my eye. Yeah, because there's no way that happened in 5 seconds.
People don't know that about you. But Chris's TED Talk I listened to the other day, and you're an unbelievably world-class speed cuber. You could take a Rubik's Cube and do it in 5 seconds. I mean, like not many people can say they're the best in the world at something, which is fascinating to me. And I didn't even know that for a long time. It still kind of blows my mind that you're the best in the world at something. but I'm inspired by it.
Pickleball's next. Pickleball's next. If you think I didn't start out in speed cubing as a 3-5, you're wrong.
Yeah, we all start horribly, but I mean, basically, I played basketball. That was my main sport my whole life. And I grew up just loving the game, studying the game. I love my main thing was I would shoot threes. I ran around and shoot. And like JJ Redick was my favorite player. Steve Nash was one of my favorite players. And so I mean, like I am now obsessed with the game of pickleball. I just was obsessed with basketball and all the way through college. And then even after I was done, after I finished my career, I probably didn't play basketball for like 2 years. It's probably one of those like, I'm kind of done with it situations. But then I got back into it and I was playing like 3, 4, 5 days a week, 3-on-3, 4-on-4. And all of a sudden, I decided I was going to take pickleball more seriously. And the day that I decided to take pickleball more seriously, which was, I believe it was December 11th, 2021. It's my first Instagram post ever. If you go back and look, because I made the commitment. I'm going to take this seriously. I completely stopped playing basketball.
Wow.
Like, I just stopped going and playing 3-on-3. And my buddies were like, dude, come play with us. I was like, I'm serious about pickleball now, so I'm going to stop.
Do you have a fairly obsessive personality?
The most.
Yeah, I think you're very similar to me, because when I got in, I was phasing out of speed cubing before I got into pickleball. I was just in a weird stage of life before I got into pickleball. But as soon as I got into pickleball, basically I was like done.
Okay,
I was like, that sealed the deal.
So let me ask you a question then, because this might reveal something about myself, or I can learn from it. When you start something new, do you feel like you want to be the very, very best at it?
Like no one ever was?
I feel like if I'm not going to be the best, or at least giving full effort, it's pointless.
Okay, that's similar to me. Like if I'm all in on something like pickleball right now, like I want to be the best possible player I can be, and I want to be one of the best players. Yeah. And I mean, that's just like how I think about the world or content. Like it's not necessarily that I want to be better than both of you, like big time. But like,
you still got a long ways to go.
But I just have like I definitely have an all-in kind of addictive personality that I get obsessed with something. Like for a long time, I was obsessed with comedy. I got obsessed with comedy for like 3 years, where I would literally watch a Netflix special. Like I would go and like watch Ellen DeGeneres do her special, and I would download. You could for a while. I think you can. I would download the transcripts of their Netflix specials, and I would like read them as I listened. Because like if you ever watch a stand-up comedian, like, and you guys know, it's unbelievable the structure of their performance, but you would never understand that. I mean, you feel the outcome when you watch comedy. You're like laughing, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you break it down, you're like, this is brilliant. This is literally art. And so like,
it's like writing a novel or the way that it's structured, it's like writing a thesis. It's very, what's the word? Curated, or I guess almost like planned out, but also at the same time, I think what's fascinating to me about performers and comedy performers in general is that they always leave room for, I guess, innovation or just to like go off the cusp, like, to go around, to be adaptive in the performances, right? Because as structured as it is, they leave space for that, and they know when the routine can branch off into different directions, you know, and then recognizing when, I think, to do that and to branch off from the script is, I think, the most impressive skill that live performers have.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't follow Pickleball Will on Instagram, you should follow Pickleball Will. But the video that you did, with James, that because everything you just said, you're really good at. And like when you did that, we did this little bit with James. Us three went to Nashville and did a little just content stuff with James Nadowich, and like you did that video where you have to go watch the video, but essentially the principles of what you just said, like creating the structure and allowing. I think in Ted Lasso it was like, let's plan for 80% and leave room for God.
Yes.
It was like a brilliant line from Ted, right? It's the same thing in comedy, I think. And so anyway, I got obsessed with that for like 3 years. And I was
It's amazing to me that you got obsessed with comedy and still aren't funny.
I tried to cut your joke off. I tried to cut your joke off because I was like, I knew where you were going because you're not funny. Don't spit your Coke out. And so,
so funny.
But that's kind of how... I mean, I did probably 3 years of, like, I was reading all the comedy books. I was taking improv classes. I was going to improv shows. And I was living in Orlando, and Orlando has incredible comedy.
Did not know that.
Yeah. And there's just one comedy place called SAK Comedy Lab, SAK. And I just took classes there. I happened to be working a job with a comedian. He's a professional improviser. He's been in movies. His name's Richard Paul. And Richard and I I mean, just the different lives you live. Like I'm 29 now, and I mean, you're still just a little young child. But me and Will understand.
Yeah, we've seen some things.
Me and Will know it. Chris is still growing up.
At least I still have upside. I'm not over the hill.
It's all downhill for me.
Well played. But Richard, so I got immersed because I'm working this new job. I was working in a hospital, and Richard is a professional comedian, and so I'm like I had just taken an improv class in college, and I graduated college, and I'm working with Richard in this job, and every day we just start like freestyle rapping and like talking improv and like just goofing around.
Can you post some of your freestyles? Because in the car and whatnot, when I'm with you, it's actually pretty funny. I should record more of these, but they just come off and I'm not ready, and
it's
I'm just there to listen to it.
So I do like to I'm not great or anything. I just like to do it more as a mental thing, and so I like a mental, I guess exercise. Yeah. And so in the car, a lot of times, like if I go on a road trip, I have 3 different things. I listen to music first, and then I listen to a podcast, and then I get a little bit tired by that point. It's like 3 hours in, and then I will start freestyling, and I'll just be like going at it loud. But it is a way for me to sharpen my mind.
Yeah,
because,
keep it elastic.
Yeah, and just like a rhythmic thing. And I love words, and so I'm like just trying to figure out. Like there's this guy named Harry Mack on Instagram. Have you ever seen this guy before? Mm-hmm. I mean, you should go look this guy up on Instagram. He is unbelievable. He just does freestyle. He goes on the streets. He has a little boombox with him, and he's like, "Hey, can I freestyle for you guys?" And he'll just get a group together, and it's like a beautiful example of crowd work where he just gets like 20 people and he's just freestyling, and I'm just like, "What is going? How did he just rhyme like a 4-inch door hinge with whatever orange?" You know what I mean? I'm like, that's unbelievable.
That's interesting you say that about the freestyle keeps your mind elastic, because I think a lot of, especially in the racket sports we play, it's very rhythmic. And I mean, I don't know, in the video games I play and the things I like to do, yeah, I find that the rhythmic things like really help.
What do you find rhythmic in pickleball? Like how would you?
I would say just like the dinking, I would say, in the rallies or whatnot, and the way that I move in my footwork. Now that I think about it, it goes to, there's like a song or something like that's playing in my head. That's probably why I listen to certain hype songs like before I go into a match or whatnot, right? Just to get a flow, because if I'm flowing well, I'm moving well. And usually if you're moving well, you're playing well. And I don't know, I think it's the same for a lot of sports, and why a lot of athletes probably listen to some sort of song or something, to kind of get them pumped up.
Oh, okay. Well, can I go on a side note real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm reading this book. My friend Nico recommended it to me. It's called The Art of Learning. And I've read a lot of like learning and brain books over the years, like a lot of us have, but this one has been really interesting. Basically, the guy who wrote the book, he's an unbelievable writer, so the book is well written, and he was a grandmaster, one of the best chess players. There's a movie that, do you guys know the movie that is a chess movie, Finding? Oh gosh.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Somebody who's listening right now is like, they totally know it and they're yelling it in their car right now.
Yes, 100%. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Someone's told me about it.
Yeah, so anyway, he's the guy the movie was based off of.
Yeah.
And if you go look up The Art of Learning, you'll see the author. That's the guy. So he became a world-class chess player, and then he ended up taking the same principles of how he got good at chess, and he applied them to different like jiu-jitsu. And I'm actually not finished with the book yet, but there's just other things that he used his training to become great at. And one of the things, to go back to your point about like music that people listen to, he was talking about flow, and like there's like flow state, like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, I think his name is the guy that is like kind of popularized and talked about.
Josh Waitskin?
Waitskin, that's the one, yeah. And so this flow state, I mean, the gist of it, most of us know what it is, but it's hard to get there, is like you're in the moment, like for basketball, it was like, I remember a game,
you're
in
the zone.
You're in the zone. You hit like 8 threes in a row. No matter, you touch the ball, you shoot it from anywhere, it's going in. It's like nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
And typically you can't get in that zone for, more than like 7 or 8 minutes at times. In basketball, that's kind of how it was. Because then there's like a break in the action. There's a timeout. The quarter's over. It's halftime. The game's over. Whatever.
That's why people call timeouts.
Right. And it's true, right? You get in the zone. You got to like break the flow a little bit. So, but this whole conversation is like, how do you get yourself into the flow? And so there's different techniques and ways. But one of the things he was talking about was, he gave this guy who was struggling, and he was doing mental training with him, and he was talking about how to get into the flow. And so he had him like choose a song. Well, first he asked him a question. He said, like, where do you feel like you're most calm? And he was like, well, when I'm with my son throwing a football. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, well, is there a song that you like to listen to when you guys are together, or when you're by yourself and you want to feel calm? And he gave a song. And so anyway, he built it, and I'm not doing the whole technique justice, not to go back to the book and say it, but he just said, get that song in your head, get that song in your earphones and listen to it before you go perform. It was like jiu-jitsu that this guy was doing, right? And take your mind back to that moment with your son to calm your brain. And there's all these connections. And,
yeah,
go ahead.
That makes sense. No, there's like a network of like synapses, right?
Yeah.
So like if you have a song that you've played or that it makes you feel a certain way, that provides confidence, or like, you think about your son, you're playing football because that moment in time brings confidence. So if you think about that moment in time, it reminds your body, like mentally and physically, that you're in that state again. So if you can recreate that state again and associate with different, I guess, cues, then you can more easily get into that state, which is the theory like behind it.
It's so hard though. I mean, pickleball and even just training. I trained this morning. The number one killer for me in my training is laziness and lack of focus. You're like me, and I was training with my buddy Craig, and we're like 20 minutes in, and we're like boom, boom, pop, pop, pop. Then we take a little water break and we come back, and I go like 10 minutes of just like, I can't make a third. I can't hit a reset. I dinkle every ball into the net, and I'm just like, and we're in this indoor facility, and there's some people around, so I want to act cool and tough. So I'm like slamming balls and like breaking paddles and stuff. And people are looking at me and like, that guy cares so much. I'm like, shut up.
I don't care at all.
You just bring the intensity because I guess when you're training and practice, right, you're going like 110%. But usually when you go compete, because there's so many other factors, like typically you're only like half as good as you are, right? In practice, right?
So you just got to you have to try to train the same way that you play, which is just so hard. You just got to, and that's why it's important, like who you train with, because like my buddy Craig is intense and he trains hard and he gives a really good ball and he challenges me. And so I train with a bunch of guys in Phoenix, but he's one of the guys I love training with because he brings that every time, and he kind of brings it out of me, because it's very easy. You just like, if you're around really smart people, you're going to get smarter. If you're around really wealthy people, you're probably going to figure out a way to gain wealth. If you're around people who are lazy, you're going to act that way. And so if I'm around my buddy Craig, right, and Craig's like raising me up, I got to raise my own level, right?
Yeah.
And so
maybe there is hope that won't be a 3-5.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
there's an asterisk to this.
It doesn't apply to everyone.
Most people it applies to, but yeah, I mean, you're going to be a 3-5 forever. But I think the chance, I think for everybody listening who are in their car, like making food at their house right now, like we've all heard this line. It's just a line that people like. You become most like the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I heard that when I was in high school. I've never forgotten it. It's true, and I constantly think about it. And like, okay, content, right? So I have like a pickleball crew that in Phoenix that I train with a lot.
Yes,
and then us 3, Shay Underwood. Like we were us 4 have been communicating around content for, I don't know, the last 6 months. Shay was the first one that ever DM'd me when I started making content.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey dude, like, I'm making content and you're doing phone calls. He brought your name up at one point, and he was like, yeah, I talked to this guy, Chris Olson. And I looked up at your Instagram page, and I'm like, this guy's like a loser.
No, but okay, so you know what's actually funny about this though? Because my first introduction to you was through Shay. He called me and was like, dude, have you heard of that pickleball guy? And I was like, no. And he's like, look him up. I didn't look you up. And then it came up again later at some point, and I was like, okay. Like I kind of just forgot the first time. He's like, okay, I'll go look him up. So I look him up and I watched some of your videos, and I think one of them might have been like, it was a Pickle Aid like commercial that you kind of made or something.
That was a wonderful, it was Fit Aid.
Fit Aid, whatever it was. I watched this, and my genuine first thought when I watched this was, this guy's kind of cringy. I don't like it. and then as I got to know you, I was like, okay, he's fine. But those first few ones were rough.
Oh,
I really hope we're cutting to my facial expression right now.
I don't know the first like piece of content that I saw from Kyle. I really can't think about what it was. And the first things that come to mind when I think about you now, obviously, is the Tyson impersonation video. And I'm pretty sure there was some content. Actually, no, it might have been like dinking everywhere with Shay.
Oh, Shay. Yeah.
I think that was my first introduction to you, and then after that, I started seeing you pop up, and I was like, okay, see what else he does. But then I was like, oh wow,
yeah,
Kyle's that pickleball. He's pretty funny.
I do think you have. I mean, just as with anything, as you practice, you're going to get better. But I think in the year that I've been seeing your stuff, the improvement is drastic. Both your delivery on camera. Like your presence on camera has just improved. I think it was just before kind of.
I appreciate that.
Technically, you've also improved because before he was shooting in 1080. No, he was shooting in 720.
Oh gosh, trust me, we're gonna get there. When we get to some of this content stuff, we're gonna get there.
I just want to make 2 points before you guys rip on me. One is when you start at the very bottom, which I intentionally did. I started very bad on purpose. I knew that I could only go up, right? and then the tough thing is if you do start at 3.5. You don't. I won't even go there. But For people just listening, we're just making Chris Olsen jokes right now. If you're new to the pod, we should probably like reframe and tell people what that joke is, or they have to go back and listen to.
No, they just got to go back and listen. They got to get the origin history.
Because somebody else is probably going to be listening, and I just said like a 3.5 joke, and they're probably gonna be like, wait, I'm a 3.5. This guy is a total.
He's a jerk.
He's a jerk. But really, I'm only making fun of you, and I'm only making fun of you because I care about you. But
I can go to it real quick, like because people think that it's me who started. I technically did start it, but I definitely like proliferated that joke.
What's that word mean?
Like expanded upon
Okay.
the joke. But basically, it was when I first reached out to Chris and we made the video when I first challenged him one-on-one. And that was one of my most popular YouTube videos at the time. And somebody in the comments said this, you know what? Chris Olsen came to my local courts in California one time and was like, yeah, I thought he was 3.5 at best. And then I told him, I was like, dude, somebody thinks you're just 3.5 at best. And Chris was like, what? Who is this guy?
Yeah, yes. I was actually like, what?
Yeah. How dare he? And then after that, I just kept on with the joke and it just stuck.
But here's the best part. So that guy that commented, I actually do know him. I met him in California and played with his group. I loved him. They were all super great people. But that was actually a joke amongst them is they would just tell each other all the time, like, dude, you're 3.5 at best.
Got it.
And so like, I kind of, messed with him. And then after he commented that, Will just ran with it. And just like every podcast, he just started
now you've become a brand and marketing wizard, and you're becoming extremely wealthy off 3.5 at best.
Be careful, because if Jeremy Burns hears this, he might start asking for royalties.
He's out there patent pending it or trademarking it right now.
I will, to put a bow on like the original question and brings back was you three and me have been, and there's others that have definitely come in and I think we were tight knit from the beginning. That's why I say you three, in case someone else is like, what the heck, what about me?
Yeah.
And so I think we've made each other better in so many ways. Like a rising tide raises all boats. And
for sure.
And like Chris, you and I have talked a bunch. Will, you and I have talked a bunch.
Yes.
Shay's not here right now. We've talked a bunch from an ideation standpoint to shoot. And when I made this Tyson McGuffin video, like that was one of the coolest experiences for me because and we can go into that video, but I just want to extrapolate one thing from it, which was I made this video and I really wanted to do it well. And so I got on the phone with you guys and like shared the script and you gave me ideas. I did like a little like pre-shoot, like you told me to. You like film it, right? And so I went out with my buddies and I like, what do you call it?
A previs.
So like I took my iPhone and I just like filmed it with some friends, really raw. I edited it in like 45 minutes. And then when I went and did this thing with Tyson, like it was so much better because you guys had given me the idea. And then I mean, just to keep going, like I was done with the video. I did the edit. I sent it to you guys and I was like, can you help me? I can't figure this out. Shay gave me an idea around the beginning and then you two were together and you guys like spent time and did like a whole re-edit. I don't even know how long did it take?
Not long, like
okay.
10 minutes.
Okay, so you just like re-edit, but you sent it back to me. It's like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Instead of even just, I mean, you could have just told me that, but you actually did it and showed it to me. So to make a long story longer, I'm just really grateful that us four have come together and risen each other because it's not every day that you have that. It's like in pickleball, it's the same thing. You have a great group, which everyone doesn't because depending on where you live, you might not have a similar level of play. I am so lucky I do here. And depending on what you do in your life and your job, you also might not have people who can sharpen you. And so I'm just really lucky. Like in my life in Phoenix, I have two really close friends here that sharpen me. And you know what I mean? And then like content. Who are they?
Yeah.
Oh, there's two guys.
Don't do it. It's gonna really.
No, I'll say right now. I mean, here's what I say. My two closest friends here, this guy named Tyler and JT, and they're both. Essentially, I have like just a lot of older friends. Like Tyler's, I think 41, JT's 37. I've known Tyler for 10 years. JT, I've known him for actually just a couple of years, but his wife and I and Tyler worked together for a bit, and so just really close community. Yeah. And I'm really grateful for that because I mean everyone doesn't have that, but I have two guys that anytime anything happens, I can count on them. And if I'm making like a business decision, I go to Tyler. Like he's like was a mentor for me for a long time, became one of my best friends. And so that's, my life and you guys with content. And then,
Will said it before and I completely agree with him, but he was saying, had he not come and done the trip where we had made some content together, he doesn't know if he would still be doing YouTube. Like he probably
I probably would quit.
Yeah. Went and got a regular job. Like if we didn't have the regular ongoing communication, I don't think I would have quit, but I think things would be far less enjoyable. I used to very much prefer working alone. I didn't like feedback from people. I thought it just kind of got in the way and it was easier to do stuff on my own. But now having this group, one, you improve way quicker. And I think the process is just more fun when you have people to bounce things off of. I think especially when you get really deep in content creation, and I should have talked about this in the beginning of the podcast if you guys made it this far. The whole podcast is going to focus a lot on content creation and Kyle's, kind of journey to pro, but along the content creation stuff, I think it can be a very lonely thing if you don't have a lot of people to bounce stuff off of. And as soon as you start feeling lonely or it's just kind of more tough, it's just not fun. Right. And I feel like this group makes it a lot more fun. To make stuff. Like I'm more motivated to do it. The idea is like people are like, if I don't really feel like doing the thing right now, you guys are like, come on, it'll just take you like 5 minutes and then we can go do something else.
Well, one thing to build on that, and I think this is cool. Like I just put a YouTube video out and I texted you three and I was like, and I think we had done this maybe a week ago for one of Shay Underwood's videos. And I was like, hey, can you guys give me some feedback on it? Excuse me. And you all three just gave me notes on something that you saw in the video to help make my future videos better. And that's really cool. And then or Shay, I love this. We have this little thing. It's kind of unspoken now, but like if I ever post a video about rules or if I ever like step on the kitchen line, Shay likes to comment and be like, yo, like, you stepped in the kitchen line even though it bounced. You can't do that, right? And he's just like trolling, you know what I mean? Like it's just funny stuff, and that's what keeps it light. Because I mean, you're on social media enough, like people just go so hard at you, and they'll just like say not that much. I mean, I don't want that many haters or whatever, but like people,
I don't know.
No, but it only takes a couple.
No, there's just one. There's a couple people that in my comments, I don't know what's going. It's like I think it might be a bot, but it also might be a person, or it might be like a bot person. Right?
Wait, on your tutorial videos?
No, just like an Instagram occasionally.
Yeah, you just get
it's like weird comments.
It's like the guy who commented on my. I don't know if you saw this Instagram story of mine. It's actually probably my favorite comment I've ever seen because it was so drastic that I was like, this is just stupid. And it made me laugh. But the guy said, he said, what did he say? You are one of the worst things for this sport. May you rot in hell.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, and I totally agree. Okay, wait, do you have a favorite comment that you've seen?
Oh, man. I don't have one favorite comment. There's just like a bunch of them. And I mean, there's just like people who just like hate on pickleball, but it's also funny of like what their tags are. I don't know. I should even mention them.
Don't do it. I know which one you're thinking of. Don't do it. Don't make them on.
Wait, can you whisper it to me?
We'll tell you after.
Okay, tell me after. People are going to be like, no, please say it. Everyone's like, please. Are we not going to say it?
They want not.
Okay, let me share mine
because
really
they want
fast.
just attention. Yeah, go ahead.
What did you say?
No, I said those haters just want you to see it. Attention.
Yeah,
right.
like there's a guy, and I think it's actually cool if someone goes back and finds the video or the picture, it'd be funny because I think it was this 44 feet series that I did
with James
Gnowich, and this guy, I think it was in the video, a guy commented and he was like, hey man, the way that I can tell that you love James because you're just like looking so deep into his soul. There's definitely a connection there or something like that. and like, I know that's how James looks at me, but like, I don't look at him like that. So when I saw that, I just texted to James. I was like, man, this is so funny. But like, that's like an example sometimes of just like the absurd like, stuff people will say, but it's probably a person. Honestly.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's a wild time, but so I want to know, and I'm sure some people are curious. So basically when you decided to get into pickleball, you obviously made the Instagram account and started doing it. Did you know from that moment, okay, content is going to be a big part of this, or why did you choose to do content at the same time?
And did you do content at your former job when you were teaching? You were teaching basketball or training for basketball, right?
Yeah, I was working at this company, and I still actually will work for the company in the summers and do some summer basketball camps. It's called PGC Basketball, which was like maybe the most life-changing experience for me in my entire life. And so, if there's people listening to this pod and like they have a kid who plays basketball, pgbasketball.com. It's the best basketball camp in America. And I worked for them for 5 years. And I worked in the marketing team and social media. I would travel around and teach basketball. And it's summer basketball camps for dedicated players who are trying to go on and play at the next level. Mm-hmm. Classroom sessions where you're breaking down film, studying and we're teaching leadership. And I was really fortunate. I had an opportunity. I get to lead a bunch of those camps. And we had 20 people like myself who would run around the country and do over 100 camps. So I got just that wonderful opportunity. Then when COVID hit, our camp shut down and all of a sudden we shifted to online courses, and we had to. I mean, it was like that, like all of our revenue is tied up in camps, so we're like, and we also want to serve the basketball community in another way because kids are at home. So we started doing these online courses. So I grabbed, I was living in Phoenix. I had just started learning videography. I feel weird saying that. Like, next to YouTube. I was like
use that word loosely, Kyle.
I started learning how to hit play on my phone.
That's accurate.
And the first time I ever shot a video, I had a Zoom H5 recorder, which is a really good like sound system, like device, like
audio recorder.
Audio. Yeah. Yep. And I didn't know you were supposed to like be checking the audio or testing it, so I literally just like plugged a lavalier mic into it, pressed start, and was like, I really hope this is recording. So I went over. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? So I went over with my buddy, and I'm filming, and we get back that night or that afternoon. It's like, hey, let's see that footage. So I pull it up, and there's no sound. And I'm like, it's like iPhone sound, but we're in Lifetime Fitness, and like I'm 20 feet from him, and so he's like whispering, basically. And it's like all you hear is the bzzz going from the Lifetime Fitness. There's like balls bouncing, and all of a sudden like there's a guy who's like on the court next to us who's just like, I own you, take that, ball up. Like, it's just like he's dunking and like trash talk and stuff. Do him, like, you can't guard me, like all these things. And we can't hear any of what my buddy, it was Tyler actually, I was mentioned earlier. And so that's a tough rant. Where were we going with that?
We were just talking about content, kind of how you got into it. Did you have background in it?
So COVID accelerated it. So COVID came, and all of a sudden I started filming. We filmed online courses, and I was behind the camera. I mean, I was behind the camera for 3 years, and I almost never, and behind the camera, again, I was behind my iPhone for like 3 years. Then eventually I got a camera, and I started learning how to use a camera. I can tell a story about that in a second because that was a disaster. But
I believe it.
No, but I mean, so I accelerated because I was never in front doing the teaching. My buddy Tyler is like he's a world-class like speaker, teacher, presenter, and so he could get up in front of the camera and do a 30-minute talk and just go start to finish, like no stops, and it's just like perfect. And there's a couple of things, right? And so I was filming him. I was doing edits in Final Cut Pro, and we were turning this thing into an online course. And I did that for like 12 hours a day for like 2 or 3 months.
Dang. So you put in the reps.
Oh man. And it was just by necessity. Cause like it was like, all right, what do we do? Do we hire somebody? I'm like, I think I can do it. And me and my other buddy, Rudy, who was working at the company, like we were both editing just hours and hours and hours. And then at one point we had like a bunch of people fly in, and we had like a 2-week film shoot where Rudy was upstairs editing, and I was downstairs like holding like my gimbal, my little phone gimbal, and I was filming, and we're going up and we're airdropping, and we're like, and then he couldn't edit fast enough because there was too much content. I mean, fast enough. He would have had to be a machine to do it fast enough. So I started editing.
Persons.
Yeah, he's a person. He's a bot person. And so anyway, that's kind of where the content for me. I mean, I'd always loved making videos. I'd always done some videos, but that's where it like really took off because I probably edited 3,000 videos at this point, and it's just absurd. So then when our camps came back, I was doing all of our social media, I was doing all of our videography. And I'll tell you a really fast story about the first time I got a camera. I texted our president. I was like, hey, like, could we upgrade from my iPhone? Because I've been using it for so many years, and it's gotten a lot of sales. Like, we've like driven sales with this thing. Can I get a camera? So I'm like, all right. So I look up, get a Sony like A6600, and we get I finally get I had a little kit lens, which is like crappy, but it was good enough. And then also I get like a 35 millimeter, 15 millimeter.
Yeah.
Probably 35.
Yeah, 35. And I'm just like obsessed with it because it has a 1.4. Sorry for, I'm just like, I'm nerding out here for that. But it's like,
I'm amazed you even know what that is.
No, big time blur. I like took an online course. So anyway, I get a camera, and like 2 days later, we're going to do an online course with Enes Kanter, who's in the NBA at the time. I don't know if he's still in the NBA right now. So me and Tyler fly to New York City, and I got the camera gear. And the whole time on the trip, I'm just watching YouTube video after YouTube video. So I'm like, I'm doing this thing with this camera, right? I don't care. So we go into the NBA Players Association like building, which is like this unbelievable facility. And Enes is in there, and he's partnering with us. And so it's just, we can only have 2 people in there. So it's me, Tyler, and Enes. And I like tried to have a third person so I could have somebody on sound separate with that recorder. And we walk in there, and I kid you not, I went to like the hardware store. I bought a belt, like a what do you call it?
Like a gaffer's belt.
Like you put hammers and stuff in it. Okay. Because I needed to hold that Zoom H6 because I have 2 mics, and I can't have 2 mics on top of my camera, right? Or something. I don't know. Maybe you could. I couldn't, right? And so then we get in there, and I'm freaking out the whole time. So I got a headset on. I have the Zoom H6, which is like it's like 6 inches tall and it's probably like 2 or 3 inches thick. And it's probably like 2 or 3. It's a good device. And then I have these fat cords in it. So I got cords all around my body. I have it in this like belt. I'm using like a legit gimbal. So I got like 40 pounds in my hand, and I got my headphones on. And I got Enes Kanter, who's 7 feet tall, and Tyler, who's trying to focus on the questions. And I'm over here just like, I pooped myself, I peed myself. And I'll tell you what, I was like doing everything. And literally we filmed it. We got back to the hotel at night. And I spent like an hour just going through every single clip and being like, I really hope the audio, please did I hit start? I've never looked at is the play button going as many times in my life as I did in that thing.
Yo.
And I left and I did it all. And that's the moment I knew I was going to do content for the rest of my life.
That's a great story.
Best part is he's clearly back to an iPhone because all the content you see from him, iPhone.
It's iPhone. Yeah. Well, here's why. It's mobile. It's fast. It's easy. And I have an Apple computer, so I can airdrop everything. And all I did was I found the best microphones, which now you guys have purchased. And like there are these little DJI like $300 microphones.
You found?
I found
Kyle?
them. I found
you
them.
found? The guy to your right didn't find?
Thank you
for you.
Thank you for finding them, Will.
Yes.
I'm dyslexic here. So anyway, yeah, that's
Well, here's what I think is funny
That's the
about
start.
just all of the different content creators in this room. Me and Will are probably the most similar because we have more formal backgrounds in filmmaking. And then obviously you have background in content creation and you dabbled with the camera. But when our content creation trip in Nashville, I knew you used an iPhone and I could kind of tell you weren't a super technical person, but it was not until we got to Nashville that I realized how not technical you are. The amount of like, you would send me a video after exporting it and it should be in 1080p, maybe even 4K because I shoot everything in 4K.
I don't know what that
Kyle's sending it to me in 720p. It's exported completely wrong. It's in the wrong frame rate, edited in the wrong frame. Like basically every rule you could break, you broke it. But somehow it still
made it work.
works.
You made it work.
It doesn't matter. That's who I am. I mean, I'm a rule breaker.
Here's what I love about it though, because coming from a background in filmmaking where like everything has to be perfect all the time, I think going into more of a content creation type of thing, I like the looseness where I don't have to be so strict about things, and you're just the extreme version of it.
Yeah.
Where there are so many things that you've made where if it was me, I'd go, oh my gosh, this still has so much more to go before I would post this. But clearly it works. The extra cleanups are not the reason you're going to succeed or not succeed, basically. If the content is good and the quality is good enough, it will be fine. So I just think it's funny how different
I think
we
I just
all
have some like decision-making frameworks in my mind because some of them are like the Tyson video. I spent like 25 hours on it. I wanted the color to be as good as it could be. I did some color grading. Not really, but I tried. But the sound design, I spent a ton of time on the sound design. So like if you ever go back and watch that video, there's a lot of sound effects in it. Yep. And then the cuts. I mean, I just I wrote the story out. I planned the story. I wanted it to be as perfect as it could be because I knew it was the type of video that I cared about. I knew Tyson would care about it. I thought people could really resonate with it and have some fun with it. But there's other videos like I did an interview. I just interviewed a lot of players, and like I think of one I did with Thomas Wilson, and it was just really raw. I mean, it's Thomas. I just cut it up. I threw some captions on it. It wasn't going to go viral or anything, but like people enjoyed it. And like I call that the 80%. Like that one's 80% good. I mean, what else do I need to do with it? If I add another 20% to it, it's like it's not going to do that.
I mean, Kyle's stuff is more like the 40%.
So disrespectful.
I think Kyle is really good at understanding for each piece of video that he does, like who he's serving, like who he wants the audience like to be at that point in time. And I feel like you serve a decent amount of it's just like the casual viewer, but then also I think you understand that there are some casual viewers that are more hardcore, and when the effort arises, because like the Tyson video, you knew that Tyson was probably eventually going to see that, and you wanted to make a good impression. But I think for like the rest of your audience, like you're like, I think the 80% is good. And, but honestly, your 80% is way higher than a lot of people's 100% by far.
Like when I make these jokes about it not being good, like obviously the content is good, but just from my former background, I'm like, dude, if I published this, someone would have had a nail through my head.
Well, here's another thing though, and like I talk to people all the time about in content perspective, they're like, I want to do content. But I don't know where to start or how. And I've talked to pros who want to start getting, and it's different. Because like, how much time do you have? How much do you really want to invest? Do you like being on camera, or do you like,
or are you just doing it because you should be?
Yeah, and I enjoy doing it. I love storytelling, and I love humor, and I love trying to make people like all those things. I edited 3,000, 4,000 videos, and videos that were from 15 seconds to an hour long, like online course. I've edited so many videos, and like I don't have unbelievable editing. Like technical stuff. My brain has gotten way better at story than it has like a technical pattern.
Yeah. And so that's the main thing that matters, honestly.
And so for me, it's easier to like do stuff fast and throw it out there. But here's the lesson. And I think a lot of people who are like, should I ever do content? I mean, if they want to, it's just try. It's like, I don't know if I should do it like this, if I should do it like this. It literally doesn't matter because number one, when you start doing it, no one even gives a crap.
They don't give a crap, and you suck.
And you suck.
Yeah,
and,
no matter
you're
what.
Gonna suck no matter what. Watch it. Like if you go back to my very, very early videos, I understood content doing basketball content, and I kind of understood what worked for our basketball camp company. But I had no idea with pickleball. I literally was just like, I'm going to post every time I go to the court. This is what I did. Every time I go to the court, I'm going to try to film a video. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it's a highlight. Oh, yeah. And part of what that does, if you post quantity over quality at first, is it tells you what does well. Yes. And what does well means like what resonates with people. Like what are people commenting like this is a cool video, do more of this? Are people telling you? Like my friend Joe at one point was like, dude, I love this thing that you did. And I'm like, that was really encouraging because I was scared of what people were going to think of me because like it's such a small community. And like, no, he's like, keep doing it. I'm like, all right, I'll do more of that. But if you go for high quality early, you could spend like 10 hours if it doesn't do well, and then you're like depressed. Yeah. I'm like, let me just do something raw. And now I'm realizing the educational stuff is really resonating with people. And so I am actually, and now I have an editor helping me, which I just in the last 6 weeks have that happen. Now I care more about, like, I really want to get the right angles when I'm teaching because I want to actually teach it in a really clear and humorous way so it's entertaining.
Yes.
But I care more. So like that 40% is now like, it's actually more like 80% or 80% is more like 90%, depending on the thing I think will help the most people or perform the best because I have better understanding of what actually works. But sometimes I'll do interviews and I'm like, I know this isn't going to perform well because like from a viewage standpoint, but I love like, I just want to, it's fun. Like the people who follow me are going to enjoy, back to that Thomas, are going to enjoy listening to Thomas talk because Thomas is a great dude. People love him. He's fun. He makes people laugh.
I also think too, just with anything in life really, but content especially is just so relatable to me, is people will say, oh, I want to start a pickleball content account or whatever. The bottom line, if you're doing it because you think either it's easy money or there is good money and that's your reason for doing it, I don't think it's going to go well. Maybe you'll make it work, but I think you have to actually have a desire and enjoyment to make content. If you don't have that, you are going to struggle. Yeah. You won't do it for the long run.
Well, that's how burnout happens. I mean, I have to do this, so I'm going to do it. And then it gets hard and you don't want to do it. Like I think us three, like we love it for different reasons. I mean, why do you love doing content?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. I mean, I've just done it for so long now, but I think for me, because almost all the content I have made outside of when I was doing filmmaking, anything on YouTube that I've always done has always been informational and helping people basically speed things up for them. So like in speed cubing, that's how I got introduced to YouTube. I started teaching people how to get faster. I was like one of the best in the world at this one event. So I would tell people, here's what I'm doing right here. You can learn from it. I invented one method, taught that to people. And then when I wasn't doing speed cubing, I started teaching people how to edit faster because my brain just loves that technical stuff. And so I would see people all the time spend literal days with their software stuck on something's broken, they don't know how to do it, they can't find the answer. And so when I was just taking all this information, it's like, oh, it's nice to be able to just teach someone and save them literal days.
So what was the feeling that you experienced after somebody messaged you back or you were validated, like, this really helped me do this better? Then what did you feel?
I mean, I think it was a nice feeling because I knew how much time I wasted in the past trying to learn these things out. So I felt useful.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, shoot. If you like want to live a fulfilling life, you probably need to feel somewhat useful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
It's true though. But I mean, I think that's
funny that you say that because like mine is similar, but the framework is different. Like when I make content, honestly, it's more selfish. I make content out there for people to, provide value to people, but really I'm doing it for myself. Like selfishly, like when I put out a piece of content, so someone told me this like a while ago. It's like people do things. Everything that somebody does is to make them feel important, but it's a really like roundabout way to think about it. So when I make a content and like let's say it's a paddle review or something, it's for the audience, but technically it's for my own personal enjoyment. Like I'll go back and watch that video because oh wow, I made this and I'm proud of this.
Yeah.
Even when I help you guys make content, right? Which I actually really like doing, but it's really roundabout because first of all, like when you guys get satisfaction or you guys make out a piece of content that you're proud of, that actually makes me proud. Like, because like, I know you guys are happy. So I know that I helped you guys out, like, you know, and it's like a really roundabout way, but it makes me feel important. And this is the main reason why I do content.
I could see that too. The feeling of importance, like you're bringing value to other people, because when I was doing the video editing stuff, that's exactly how I felt. And it was very obvious how I was making that benefit. In pickleball, I think it's less so. But I still feel I'm providing value in that people are making a large-ish sum of money to play the game, purchasing these paddles, and you don't want to buy the wrong one. And I think it's very easy to do that. So it's like if I can spend a bunch of time with this and save you from getting the wrong one or buying one that will break, or, marketing tricks you or whatever and you feel bad about it, I feel useful in that way. Maybe not the same way as the video editing, but in a lesser way.
And you're so honest about it. I know you're starting to do paddle reviews too.
Yeah.
Before I go to that thought, what made you start doing them?
Or just like pickleball videos in general?
Paddle reviews.
Oh, paddle reviews? Well, first of all, it's easier for me. First of all, I'm actually kind of somewhat of like a gearhead and a paddle nerd myself. Like some people may not think that. Like I think people think they default to Chris as the paddle nerd. But
I don't watch his videos ever. I don't even think they're good.
I am just as much of a paddle nerd or geek like as Chris, and I've always wanted to do them, but I haven't found a format or whatnot that I like. And then I started doing them more because obviously I've seen Chris's success and how he's been able to essentially basically make pickleball his full-time thing and replace his income. And I wanted to do things like my way on my own terms, but I saw the growth and I was like, okay, I'm eventually going to do this. Let's just do it now. And now I'm seeing more success about it. And I think that I'm not going to stop doing them, but it's not ultimately what I want to do. But right now I see it as a way to enable me to do other videos in the future. I'm going to talk about this like in a future video on my channel, but like I want to have like a series where I go to different parts of the country or different local courts, and I want to showcase the courts and the community of that people. Like this is like how good is insert blank city or town at pickleball, and I go and I just play a bunch of matches and stuff. But that stuff needs resources and money, which I don't have. But right now I think the easiest way to get there is to do paddle reviews, which I already enjoy and I like and I love, and I have a great resource in Chris, and I'm developing relationships with paddle companies or whatnot. So I'm using that as a way to enable other future pieces of content that I would like to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that idea.
Heck yeah. Come through. Arizona's on the list, Phoenix or whatnot. I want to like travel around the world to do that too, like in emerging places. Like how good, could you imagine if you're like, how good is India at pickleball, or like Japan or Australia or whatever, and I go there and I just play like random people, and I mean, and if I'm building relationships with these paddle companies, like maybe I'll pitch them to like, hey, would you have some paddle that you want to donate to these emerging communities and spread the joy of pickleball? Because my mission is to share and spread the joy, or my joy, of pickleball with other people and everyone. You know that feeling you get when you play pickleball for the first time? You invite a friend that's never played a racket sport and you get them into like some epic rally where they're getting the balls back, and then it ends in like a smash, and then you see them so psyched up. Like that moment, when they have that moment, is like the most satisfying moment, like to bring to somebody that, they did something like really cool or athletic or some crazy get, and like I love that feeling.
See, I do this in a much more roundabout way.
Yeah.
My mission has clearly become that people who watch me and look at this 3-5 being as successful as he is, they're like, if he can be that, I'll be infinitely more successful in life than this guy.
It's number one, I really hope that we clip that whole segment and put some really inspirational music over what Will just said, because I was like, wow, that was awesome to hear, and it inspired me in a way that the game, it's part of the reason I love doing content. The game is so fresh. It's not, I mean, it's still new-ish.
Yeah.
Of course, it's coming out of the scene. It's been around for, I think, 50 or 60 years at this point, but there's not that many content creators. There's more now than there was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And because I think people are seeing the opportunity, one opportunity to impact the sport in a small way. Yeah. Like I was doing basketball content for a bunch of years, and there's, if you look at content creators, it's just a term, there's thousands of content creators in basketball. So you can come in and, I mean, you can still impact the game in a small way, of course.
Yes.
You can impact it in a bigger way in pickleball because it's fresher, and I mean, so many new things are happening. I mean, shoot, right when I started making Instagram videos, I was in Denver with my buddy Trent, and we went to this park, and like somebody recognized me for making videos, and I had like 1,000 followers. Like, oh, I saw your video, and I was like, that was cool. So that was, I mean, that's a cool thing. But to tie it back to Will, like, the four of us, there's 20, 30 people making really good videos. I mean, I don't know how many people there are now.
No, and there's more.
But they can impact the world. And so they can impact the game in a new way. And like it could be impacted worldwide in a small way.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not like we're not changing the game by like making a video.
Right.
But like you can actually get a lot of reach and reach a lot of people.
Right.
And we're making videos that are hitting people in multiple countries. I've DM'd and emailed people in multiple countries, which is really neat. And so that's one of the reasons I like doing it too, is the connection and also just the growth of the game. Like we all have a part in the growth of the game. We're not growing the game ourselves. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we have a small part. It's just like every player has a small part by competing on the tour, right? And anybody that puts videos out has a small part. And
just like teaching, like going to your local courts and teaching somebody or bringing somebody new. Like, so, you know, shout outs to everybody out there, like, who's doing their part in growing the sport of pickleball. And honestly, right now, if you want to go out there and you want to make like content, you should, because it only helps. And honestly, content creation is hard. Whether you're doing videos, whether you're doing photos or writing a blog, a newsletter, whatever it is, you know, every single little bit.
Well, I
helps.
think the whole, like, the growth of the sport is it's kind of like a pie, and like each thing is its own slice. Like content, blogs, all like podcast, everything is under that content slice of pie that contributes to the growth, right? I'm imagining if a ton of people are getting into the sport and basically no content creators exist, and you want to learn how to get better at the game, and suddenly Jordan Briones doesn't exist anymore, not that people won't enjoy the game, but now the barrier to getting better at the game is harder. Like, I think having all of these resources online is a valuable way to get people in and make that less of a barrier. Just like, you know, people who are building courts and planting all of that is another. Ambassadors who are, you know, promoting the sport. Like, all of it, the pro scene, it's all a slice of the pie that I think helps move it forward.
Hey, shout out Jordan Briones. I saw him this morning.
Oh, did you?
Jordan Briones lives like 10 minutes from me.
That's awesome.
Interestingly enough.
And you haven't met him until now.
Well, we actually just met in person, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago. We drilled a little bit.
Yeah.
Great dude, like super awesome guy who actually, I love his videos. Like, he makes great videos on YouTube.
Shouts to Jordan.
Yeah,
I love Jordan.
And just like the best dude. So like, I mean, there's so many good people doing it. And like, I look at Jordan and I'm just like, that's awesome. Like, I love that he's a great dude helping grow the sport, and he's putting out great content that I've learned from as well.
Yeah. And the more like people who are making content, it just serves more people, because I don't know, I haven't found a sport or hobby or activity that I feel like is so diverse in, you know, age, ethnicity, backgrounds, sports backgrounds, right? And so the more content creators we have, like that perspective, that unique perspective, you know, will service those people looking for that content and be more relatable. I mean, like, I'm doing like paddle reviews right now, like along with Chris, but I would say like our videos are fairly different in tone and the way that we go about it. You know what I'm saying?
Apparently you guys just think I sound like a nasal bot.
Well, that's not us.
Today I'm going to be releasing the new Selkirk 0016. This is the best spin panel I've ever seen. Not only that, but if you use my affiliate code, I can get you a slight discount. And your game, it will never be... sorry, let me start over. What's up, guys?
Oh my goodness!
I only do that for the people who don't know any of us and don't know me. Like, this guy's a total asshole. But
the way I bring value to this friend group is to be the verbal punching bag. I've decided that, and I'm okay with it.
I think to the pickleball community at large, I think that's how you bring value.
And the best thing I have to say, because it doesn't get said every time, and it probably shouldn't get said every time, but you are like, you're not a 3.5.
Yeah,
you know, like you're probably 3.6-ish. like there's no chance you're a 3.5. You have a great drop. Your hands are well, let's not talk about your hands, but like your other, like your dink. Actually, no, that's not good. But when you like tap paddles at the end of a game, you're so kind. You are so kind.
Yeah, your serve was pretty good too. Oh wait, the spin serve has been banned. I can't even say that anymore.
I'm just kidding. No, Chris is a good player, and we actually had to play at MLP Columbus, which was I think the first time I'd seen you play. And I had fun playing with you.
Probably. It was good. And I'm excited to do some playing here, too.
You and I took on Pickleball chick, Caitlin Kerr, and Kim Kleisters.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun.
And it's actually on YouTube. I think Pickleball will film a little bit of it.
I filmed and edited. That's actually still one of my best performing videos.
Oh, that's crazy, right?
That brings me a thing I want to go on a tangent off of, just as like the life of a content creator that people might find interesting. The videos that you think will do well, I mean, sometimes you know this video is just going to do well. You just, from experience, you know. But the amount of times that a video gets posted, that Kim Kleisters one is a great example. When you were editing that, I personally never would have thought anyone cared about that or would even want to watch it. But it grew extremely quickly. Well. One of your most popular videos on the channel. I've had a few like that on mine. The tier list video I did, shocked that it's one of the most popular videos I ever did.
Oh, yeah.
Because I filmed it in 20 minutes, maybe did the edit in 30 minutes, probably one of the lowest effort videos I've ever done, not because I wanted it to be low effort, just because that's the nature of the video.
Well, I mean, if Shea Underwood is the best. He makes the most viral videos, and I think there's definitely some things that. I mean, for a video to go viral, especially a pickleball video, it needs to transcend a pickleball audience. And so, for example, if I ever do an interview video, there's no chance an interview video is going beyond like 10 or 15,000.
Unless they say something
crazy,
right? Or
like, yeah, like I'm going to be the #1 player in the next 3 months, Sam.
I'm not.
Out.
No, Sam's the best dude ever, by the way. We could go on a Sam tangent. He's such a great guy. But on a side note, I'm just backpedaling now, Sam. No, I'm just kidding. no, Sam's good. But so it has to transcend, and so but not always, because I'm gonna tell you a quick story because that's a great point. The net cord, when the ball hits the net, goes over.
Yeah.
We put our hand up. I wrote an article about it. I don't believe in putting your hand up and apologizing unless it's like, the only reason I believe in it is if you're with people you don't know and you're not trying to cause a ruckus. But honestly, let's cause a ruckus. How do you even spell ruckus? R-U-K-U-S? Is that right? I don't even know. Is it R-U-T-K-U-S?
Yeah, I think.
Do any of you even know? How do you spell ruckus?
R-U-C-K-U-S.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Okay.
It's okay. You can stick to making videos. No, right.
Well, but I wrote this article and then I posted a video about it, and people are like, "Oh, you should apologize. It's tennis tradition." I kind of looked up the origin of the net cord. Anyway, so then I post this thing on Facebook, and somebody replies, and they're basically like I'm a bad person because I don't have empathy for the other team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, empathy for their team? I'm trying to demolish the other team. I don't have empathy for them. Like if they get hurt, I'm gonna but I hit a net cord.
Be a good sportsman after the fact.
Yeah. I tried to win the point, and of course I'm aiming. Here's the thing. You're aiming low. I'm going to make my point at the end, but you're aiming low because you want to keep the ball right over the net so it stays low. They pop it up potentially. If you hit it high, it's either going out or they're putting it away. Mm-hmm. So, of course, you're going to hit more net cords in pickleball. I mean, there's been 10 net cords in one game I've played in before. It's not a coincidence, and it's not luck. Of course, you didn't necessarily intend to hit it every time, but it should be expected. That's my whole rant on it is stop throwing your hands up in the air and being like, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe this. Okay, dude, you've been playing pickleball for a long time. Yes, you can believe it. It happened to you 10 seconds ago, right? And you didn't even apologize. And then the other thing is this. Half the time when it hits the net, it actually either doesn't affect the point because you're dinking, it hits the net, you can still get it. Yep. Or it actually is advantageous to the receiver of the net cord because it hits the net and it pops up and you put it away. So there's just as many of those as there is like a serve return net cord that pops over the net. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like unbelievable to me.
And it's not like tennis where it hitting the net cord very well just ends the point.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen as often because you're in tennis, you're not attempting to hit the ball. I mean, you have a lot more margin for error. So in pickleball, the goal is keep the ball low.
Yeah.
Right. And occasionally you want to hit it high for different reasons, but like keep it low. And so it's going to hit the net cord. It happens every single game. So my whole thing is stop. But no, my point is this person went at me in these comments, and I actually posted on my Instagram story because it was just so much. It was so fun.
I remember that.
Yeah. And it was I can't remember the exact thing. We could probably go back and find it. But the person was just like, you don't have empathy. I can't believe that you would be okay winning a point like that. It could have been a person, like a bot person, Mm-hmm. So then I was like, you know what? Screw it. So I went outside. And I set up a tripod, and my buddy had this ball machine over at my house, so I just plugged it in. I was like, I'm just going to hit a quick net cord real quick and post a video. So I get outside. Within 10 balls, I hit a net cord. It goes over. I post a video. It's like a 3-second clip, and I said, working on my game. And in the video, guess, do you know how many views it hit?
How many?
Guess.
1.7 million.
No, it was not that many.
500K.
No, it was about 500. It was like 400 or 500K.
Total right now?
Oh, well, now it's probably at like 501K or something like that. No, I haven't looked in a little while. I could go back and look. But it hit like 500,000. I don't even know why that went. But to wrap this, put a bow on it, it's crazy in content how the Tyson McGuffin impersonation video I did, I knew that wasn't going to blow up because it's just not going to transcend the pickleball audience probably. Yeah. That did fine. In the pickleball audience, I think they enjoyed it. But then you put something out, it's kind of random, and like I
think that's more of like because it kind of quote unquote attacks like your morality or ethics or something.
People,
I think that's why.
My friends know it. When net cords happen, we don't apologize. We started saying smart shot every time. It was like smart shot.
Yeah.
And like, cause it's like, make be tougher. It is annoying. The only time I've apologized for real in a tournament on net cord, it was on match point. I hit a net cord to win the game. And that's of course it's annoying. You're like, for their team. But in general, and of course, like this pod is going to be, we got video and all that stuff. I'm going to lose a match here on center court soon. And it's going to literally be on a net court. I'm going to throw a fit. Right? And somebody's going to come back to this video and be like, yeah, you are such a, what's the word?
A hypocrite?
A hypocrite. How do you even spell that? What does that even, H-Y? No.
No, yeah. I just think you never, not never, But sometimes the videos you just don't plan for, they blow up, and it's such a fascinating part of content creation. And sometimes you spend a ton of time on a video and no one cares. And those ones aren't fun. That's super funny. Okay, well, one thing I want to dive into before we get into the pro scene, because the people who aren't content creators are probably like, just talk about pickleball, please.
Yeah,
Stop talking about your camera stuff. But I want to know, so you quit your job somewhat recently, and I just want to like talk about that process. Obviously, you've gone all in on pickleball, both in the pro side of things and content creation. When you were making the decision to quit your job, how scary was that thought? Because you weren't really making money on pickleball yet. You knew money could come in.
Yeah, I was uncertain, like any big decision in your life. And I will say this, like, let me give you quick context and then I'll answer it, because you asked me this question before, I didn't answer it, but it was like the whole basketball thing propelled me. I had a lot of skills that I've developed to be able to do content. So when I started, I think it was December 11th, I made a decision a few days earlier, I'm going to go all in on pickleball. And all in meant I still have a full-time job. I'm going to start training pickleball. So I made a post on my Instagram. You can scroll all the way to the bottom. It's like, I'm today starting my pursuit to be a professional pickleball player. Kind of like a la Rob Nunnery, who I think did that. I didn't even know about that at the time, but he did it like years ago or whatever, right? And so then I just started making some videos, and I didn't say like, I'm going to quit my job soon. That wasn't the thought. The thought was, I just like making videos, and I think I can make some people laugh along the way, so, and share the journey. I started the newsletter. I was writing once a week, and I was sharing Instagram videos, newsletter and Instagram videos, and training and full-time job. Very little life outside of that. I just have fun doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so that happened for like 6 months. I started getting traction. Eventually signed a little deal with Selkirk, which made me a little bit of money, not anything crazy. But that just
not enough to live off of.
Not enough to live off of. That just showed me that, okay, there's some money in this. And all of a sudden, like, LeBron James is signing on with a team, and Tom Brady. And all of a sudden, everybody's texting me because I'm only talking about pickleball on work Zoom calls and stuff. So people know I love it. And then fast forward another couple months, I'm making more content. Maybe getting a little bit of a bigger following. I'm going to a lot of tournaments. I'm meeting a lot of people. I'm recognizing there's very few people in content. So that was the kind of the crux of me starting it. And little by little, it's just like when you build a house, you don't just like put the roof on it. Like, you got to build it brick by brick. And I was kind of laying a brick every single day, but I didn't know what the brick was what kind of house was gonna be built, or an apartment, whatever it's gonna be like. And so I still don't know what it's gonna be, but there's more bricks.
It's on track to look like a multi-million-dollar mansion.
This is gonna be a studio unit. And so it's gonna have actually, there's no bathroom. The washing machine's outside. You gotta like actually go down the street to a laundromat, and I use a porta potty that's out in the back, but it's fine. It's one day. So that was the crux of it, and it got me going. And then, so I'll take you to your question now, which was, I think maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I'm so addicted to the game. I'm like, I mean, it's like so many people, I'm obsessed with it, and I love it. I love playing. I love practicing. I love playing tournaments. I love making videos. And so, I went from full-time, talked to my work, and I was like, hey, and they knew the whole time. I told the president of our company, I was like, hey, I'm going to start making some pickleball videos, just so you know I'm still fully committed to the company, because I didn't want him to be like, wow, Kyle's like totally moonlighting right now and all this stuff. And he was supportive of it, and because he didn't know what it was going to be, but he kind of knew me, so my guess he's a really brilliant guy. My guess
as soon as he said that, he was like, we lose him in a couple months.
Yeah, he probably thought. And so I was just taking it, I just had it in my heart. It was just pulling me towards pickleball. But I love my job. Like, I work with incredible people at PGC Basketball, and it's an unbelievable organization with incredible leaders and camaraderie like I've never seen in any other company, and a culture that is like attractive to anybody that wants to be a high achiever or be in a work environment that is fun to be a part of. And so I have these two things in my hands, if you will, and I'm like, I love this, but I'm being pulled toward this. And that was really that was the most challenging. I actually wasn't even thinking about money as much. Now, of course, that was a part of it, because I'd be stupid not to be a part of, like, how are you going to live, what it's going to look like. But my heart is just like with these people, my friends that I've been working with and helping build. And like, I helped build a lot of that social following, and like a newsletter, and getting more kids to come to this transformational experience. And that's just like, I mean, I went from full-time, I said, hey, can I go to part-time? Can I go, like, just try it? I'm going to do part-time for a little bit. I want more time in pickleball. I want to train more, because I'm working 12 and a half hours a day. I'm waking up at 4. I still do that because I like it, but I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. and do pickleball stuff, and then I'll spend 4 or 5 hours on PGC stuff, and I'll go train, and then I'm working late, but I'm having so much fun. And then I just wanted more time. So then I went from full-time to part-time, and then I'm like, gosh, I think I just need more time. I want more time. I'm doing the finances. I'm looking at possible numbers. I'm in a conversation with Selkirk about what a possible deal could look like. Obviously a lot of companies start reaching out when they start seeing videos, and I still make like very little money. People are like, wow, this guy, like, these people are rich.
Well, that's that actually was what I was going to get to. So I was going to say, at the moment, you're still not making a lot of money.
No, I mean, Chris Olson and Pickleball Will, they funding my life still. And so they gave me a glass of water here, and like, it was free, thank God. Right? But like, we're in this Airbnb right now. But so that was a part of the decision making. So what I had to do, it was very challenging. I really leaned on my friends, Tyler and JT, and I talked to my parents, and it wasn't a one-day decision. It was a build-up. And I didn't go from nothing to something. I went from never playing pickleball to playing pickleball. I went from never doing content to doing content. I went from full-time to part-time. Then I went from part-time to, can I take 2 weeks off? Like almost like a sabbatical. And I talked to work. I'm like, I just need to I think I need to be in it for 2 weeks. And my work is unbelievable. Like these people I'm working with are just, I can't say it enough how grateful I was to be. I'm still a part of that organization in a different way. Now I'm just not full-time with them. And they were like, okay, do it. Cause they could just feel it. They could feel it in my voice, like my passion for it. And so he's like, all right, take 2 weeks. So I take 2 weeks, and like within like 7 or 8 days, I'm just feeling more like, this is it. All I'm doing is pickleball for these 2 weeks. Like I'm traveling. I went to a tournament. I think I went to the Nashville thing with you guys. Was a part of that. Was in that 2 weeks.
The Nashville, yeah, it was.
And so I'm doing that. And I'm like, I love this. It's so fun. I get to hang out with these guys and play pickleball and travel. And then I came back from that 2 weeks, and I told my work, and I literally got on the call with the president of the company. His name is Mano Watsa, and I just started like crying, and I was like, it's time.
Oh, I quit. No, I hate you guys.
I got on the phone. I couldn't even speak because we both knew. We're like on the Zoom call. I'm sitting on my couch, and it's like an 8 a.m. call, and I'm just like looking him in the eyes and just like tearing up because I knew, and he knew, and I think like I said, he's so smart. I think he knew, but he knew before I knew, and I just couldn't make the decision because part of me was like, I love these people. It wasn't even about money for me in my heart. It was like, I love these people so much. I will feel bad if I leave these people,
that is interesting because I felt the same way with speed cubing when I was because I had lifelong friends, like some of my best friends I've ever had. Many of them were in my wedding. And it's like leaving it, I almost felt like I was like abandoning the people.
The people, yeah.
And so it just, even though I wasn't as interested in speed cubing anymore, it was hard to like kind of ease out of it because I felt like I was leaving something behind that I didn't want to leave behind.
Well, when you give your heart to something for so long, and so much of your time and investment and energy, of course you develop a care that's deep. Yeah. Like there's deep roots there. Yeah. And so, I mean, if I hated that job, it'd been so easy. I'm like, I can't wait to leave. It's like I left the job I hated for the thing I loved.
Yeah.
Right? A documentary coming soon. Right? But no, that's what was the big pull, the speed cubing thing. I feel like a big part of me, I felt like I'm letting these people down.
Yes.
And like my friend Jackie and my friend Craig, these people, Chad, all these people I've been with, TJ for so long. And so then I made the decision. And I tell you what was so interesting though, is when I made the decision, I actually felt like a weird freedom. And it wasn't a freedom like I was being pulled down by the other company. It was a freedom as if like I know I'm making the right decision.
Yeah.
Because my heart is pulling me so hard to pickleball and pickleball content that when I started, and I didn't start resenting it, and maybe resenting is a tough word, but I did start like not wanting to do the other work because I wanted to be doing this work so much. Yeah. But like in the best way, because I still love that work and I know what that work is contributing to. It's contributing to 7th to 12th graders who want to play college basketball and they don't know it, but learn incredible leadership skills.
Yeah.
Like it changed my life when I was in 10th grade. Right. And so that's, and the very final part of the story is, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the very final part of the story is I start doing it. I'm like 2 weeks in, and we do the company's amazing. We do this we call it a celebration call. And we get on, and anybody in the company can just join the call. It's like a 20-minute call. And the part of the culture of the company was you do celebrations anytime you're on a meeting. So you get into a meeting, and let's do a quick round of celebrations. A celebration is just, you're acknowledging or praising or encouraging somebody on something you've seen them do that you want to, that we could all do more of, but you're just like, hey, Will, like, I'll do 2 right now. Like, Will. And this is exactly how we do it in the company. And this is what happened for me in my celebration call. And I was just bummed. I couldn't even speak. I was actually at Major League Pickleball Columbus. It was the day after it ended. It was Monday. I'm sitting in a booth in the hotel, and I'm literally just crying my eyes out. Like, I can't even hold it together, right? And like people are walking by, and I could feel, like I knew that person, but I can't look because I'm just like so locked in. And so it'd be like this. It'd be like, Will, I celebrate you because every time we're together, which is not that much. Like you consistently are the greatest utility player / leader when you need to be either one of the both, right? If you're the one leading a video, like you take control of the video and you have really brilliant ideas. And if you need to be the utility player in that specific role, you just completely embrace the role and are a star in that role. And that's something I've always admired about you. And so I celebrate you for that. All right, and then Chris, I can't quite think of anything.
I saw a mile away.
But I will say this. I say Chris. I think I celebrate you. I'll be really specific on this celebration, which is I love that you do these great review videos, but the thing that's really cool is the honesty that you approach the video with. And it's part of the reason you're so good and people trust you so much. And I think they will take your advice and go do something with it, is because you get onto a video and you just say what you believe, and you don't just sell out to making money. I don't know your situation stuff, but you just sell out to making money. You just I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then the second part of my celebration for you is, I think as a idea bounce off guy, you're one of my favorite people to go to, because you just give interesting perspective to me that is so different than my brain. And so when I come to you, I'm like, I never even thought about it that way. And I think you consistently do that. So that's why I celebrate you.
Yeah. Well, that's sweet. I actually agree with that though, because I do think the way our brains are just wired so differently. I think it goes both ways. Like, you're just staring at me really intensely.
Yeah, you two are the most different of the group, I feel like.
I think so.
I
for
I'm
sure.
attracted to your ideas a lot of times is because I think Will and I Will and I are funny and you're not. So it's like we think along the same lines. You know what I mean? And then Shay has a much different Shay is like so. The thing I love about Shay is he's so analytical in such a different way than me.
Yeah, focused and intelligent. But you also do content where it's like that these things will resonate with the people, but the reasons why they resonate is different. Like the information that you have, the data to back up why videos will work between your experiences and Shay's experiences are different. Shay's obviously very information driven, like analytical driven from like so much, just researching the space in the field, different platforms or whatnot. And from you, I feel like it just comes from experience, from what you did in basketball and what you're doing now, and that you are so willing to try new things that, you just have this repertoire of ideas, information, and hours of work to like draw back from.
Do you know what's neat? I think if you took all four of us and put us on like a scale or a spectrum, the order that I think it goes from most similar to least similar is it goes me, then you, then Shay, and then Kyle. So like me and Kyle are opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
Shay is most like Kyle, and then you are most like me, but you and Shay are like less extremes of me and Kyle.
Yes,
which is great.
Agree.
I mean, obviously,
I think that's why we work so well together and why we love being around each other.
I mean, diverse teams make things better. You typically want to be around people you like that are most like you, because you connect with them. Sometimes sometimes the most, but sometimes not. Sometimes obviously opposites attract. But I think just different ideation.
Yeah, I think that having the spectrum of all of us is good, because like having Will and I be on the same page on certain things with like filmmaking backgrounds. If there's a certain idea I have, he probably understands how it should be shot from a filmmaking background. But then just like your storytelling side of things is like very strong. Like the technical side of things may not be, but the story is like very good. You will come up with a story infinitely faster than I will. It'll take me so much longer to come up with the same thing.
Kyle's really just like example of
example.
You
were saying exemplar? Or
exemplar?
What he said? He said like example. Like EXE.
Words are hard.
Words are hard.
It's like you're trying to like rap and you're like, I don't know about my temple, but I'm gonna make an example. Like I don't know. It's like
and it still works. It still works. But I'm like I was saying, it's what's the saying? Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Never
heard
that.
That's
what it is. Yeah, done is better than
perfect. It's good. I think to put a bow on the question you originally asked, which is just that journey. I'm in that booth in the hotel crying, and then I closed the laptop and I'm sitting there just reflecting on how grateful I am that I've had so many good people that have poured in my life over the last 5 years, all starting from 10 years, all starting since I went to that basketball camp. And so I think that was hard. And you're like, well, so then I went full time into pickleball, and some might be like, well, okay, so how do you do that full time into pickleball? Well, right now, like I am not making a ton of money, and when I looked at it, the framework I was using, one part of the framework was like, all right, I'm going to look into 6-8 months. where could I actually generate some revenue so I can live, right?
Yeah.
And so like, cause I mean, I'm not like just like this money hungry person, but like, of course you can't just go and make $0. Like, I got to make money. So I think, I looked into the future of that, and I recognized that there's some brand partnership opportunities. I recognized from you guys that like there's just different ways to monetize content. And so I was starting to look into those different ways. I've looked into like potentially building, online courses.
Yeah, because you have experience doing that.
I've done it. Yeah.
I was going to ask you that, because now that you're doing more tutorial videos, like, are you going to bring some of that expertise and that experience into the pickleball space?
Yeah, and I think yes, and like I plan to. And I'll probably build some online course at some point, but right now, like I am still learning so much as a player, and I'm really like, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing. I'm learning from experts, and I'm taking the frameworks I've learned from how to teach. When I was so lucky to get trained by some unbelievable teachers. My buddy Tyler is one of the best teachers in the world. Like this guy is my close friend, and I've watched him teach thousands of times. Like so I'm taking some of that learning and combining it with what I'm learning in pickleball. And I just want to honestly put as much out on YouTube for free as possible, because I don't feel like I'm even. Sometimes you feel that fraudulent
imposter syndrome.
But like I don't feel like I'm an imposter right now. I feel like I have a skill set to be able to teach, and I'm lucky right now. I have a great editor that's helping me and make these videos look really cool. And so at some point maybe I will. But I guess the long story longer is I believed when I made the decision there was ways that I could monetize and make a living doing this. And I told myself, I'm like 2 months into this decision, but I told myself, I'm like, all right, in 6 months let's reevaluate. Because I just looked at my finances. I'm like, can I do it? I'm like, well, there's a good chance that I could, have to live on the streets. I'm just kidding. I think I'll be okay. Chris has my back.
Whoa.
But I just said, like, in 6 months, let's reevaluate and see where we're at. And so that's what I did. And then, now what my day looks like is like, it's full-time either content creation. I mean, yes, and it's full-time content creation, and it's full-time training. And so that's what, and that's like, I'm so grateful and lucky I have the opportunity to do that, because so many people like even tell me like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, yeah, I am so lucky that I'm doing this right now. I'm grateful that it's a possibility.
What's the split right now between content creation and training? Because we've talked, a lot on this pod about content creation and, your journey to get to where you are content creating. But obviously, I think we know, and I think a lot of people out there know that you are looking and trying to go pro.
I mean, and you're playing pro.
And you're playing pro right now as well. So how does that fit into, your workday? And are you focusing more on content creation? Or are you focusing more on training? Like what are you prioritizing right now? Or what is the percentage split?
Okay, let me say it's probably 60-40 training to content
creation.
Okay. And that's, I mean, you're putting me on a spot to give you a percentage. I think that's somewhat accurate. It's kind of crazy because we just talked about content. You kind of hear our passion, all three of us, for content. And I do love content. And I'd say, though, I love playing more.
Yeah.
I made a shift in my mindset over Christmas break. I've been training for a long time, and I have a newsletter that I write. I kind of write about the journey every week on it. And in it, I've looked back and read some of the old articles, and I'm shifting, and I'm always writing about like how to practice smarter. And I was writing about practicing smart like 6 months ago, but I realized I was kind of practicing dumb, because you only know what you know at the time, and you don't know what you don't know. And it's like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. You're like, oh, I thought I was doing that well. Then I heard somebody else talk about how they did it. Now I'm like, I'm an idiot, right?
Yeah. I will say, since we've played and drilled together and done videos together, I will say that out of all the people that I've played with or against, like, you have a very interesting style, and I think you are the most comfortable, like when you're stretched out wide, which I find very fascinating.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I mean, most people when they're stretched out, I mean, obviously, you're tall and, you have reach, and I'm going to make a guess that comes from you playing basketball, like all these years. I just feel like your body control, when you're far outstretched, and your skills right there, your dexterity is pretty impressive.
Thank you.
I would say.
I just watch, I watch a ton of JW, and I watch a ton of Ben, because I think their balance is two of the best.
Yeah.
And you rarely catch either of them off balance.
Yeah, and their movement.
In their movements and their positioning. And that's what a lot of things I'm trying to work on right now. Like, into your question about split, and let me share the shift. Over the Christmas break, I was like, I like training more. I mean, I think I like competing more, because people ask me this question all the time. Like, what's I like training more than I like content if I had to be put on the spot, but not by much. I love content. I love storytelling. And the shift I made was I'm going to now build my days around training first, content second, which just 3 or maybe 2 months ago or before the break, it was content first. I'd wake up at 6 or whatever, and I'd edit and maybe come up with ideas and do videos, and then I would figure out when to train. But now I schedule, I'm going to train on Tuesdays and Thursdays with Craig, and then I'm going to go work out or whatever, and then I'm going to do content. Maybe I'll sit at Lifetime Fitness and do stuff for like 3 or 4 hours, and then I'll go practice again. And so right now, my day typically looks like I'll wake up and I'll do some type of drilling. It's 7 or 8. I'm also like a super early riser. I go to bed early and I'll wake up at like 4. I love that. So it's just like, but I'll go to bed at like 8 or 8:30. So I wake up at like 4 and I'll do
opposite of me and Will.
Yeah. That's where like my mind is the sharpest, and it's different for people, of course. Like, you stay up late, and I just can't do that. I'm like, I'll be sharper at 4 a.m. So I'll get up and do like 3 hours in the morning, or 2 hours, just kind of depending. Probably 3 times a week I wake up at 4 to 4:30. And then the rest, I'll probably wake up at like 6 and not do any work in the morning. And then like this morning, I woke up at 5:30. I worked for maybe an hour and 15. I went to train from 7:15 to 9. And then typically on Thursday, I came here to do this. Typically, I'd go work out for like 30 or 45 minutes. And then I go home and I'd work for like 3 hours. And then I'd probably go play a game that afternoon or drill again. So that's kind of or do yoga or something.
Break,
I'm really training like. And like if Ignatowicz was sitting right here, I could just hear him. He's like, "And you're still not that good, Kyle." Right? But that's kind of what it looks like because I'm just having so much fun doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, before I guess this podcast is too long, I want to ask one.
This is a Joe Rogan podcast. No, people are like, keep talking, right?
He's taken over the pod. This actually will be. This podcast is going to be an experiment. So if you guys made it this far, you let us know. I want to know what people feel about long episodes, because there are definitely episodes I could see going long with certain people. I knew this one was going to be long. I'm just curious what people, how valuable they find it. What are their limits?
People, I first read a great tweet. It's like long form. I used to do I would write sales copy for the company I was working for, where sales copy is like you're writing an email with the intent of like selling a product.
Right.
And so I kind of, and one of the things in sales copy is like short form sales copy or long form, which converts better and gets people to buy the product. And now the product that I was helping to promote was this camp, and I believed deeply in the product. So all I was doing was like telling the benefits and the outcomes that you would get from going to a camp.
And the length was the length.
And so I think you go back to the history of advertising and you look at like different advertisers, long form copy long form copy typically does better than short form copy. Now that was in the past, and you could argue, someone could be listening to this as a marketer that's like, well, our attention spans are different. Sure. However, we sit down and watch a 2.5 hour movie. We sit down and binge Netflix for 8 hours. We sit down and listen to a Joe Rogan podcast for 3 hours. Like, it really, at the end of the day, it's not the content. If the content's good,
people will listen.
If the content sucks, they'll get. People are probably, there's no one listening right now.
I knew he was gonna say that. If you were gonna say it, I was gonna say it.
So anyway, I want to make that point. So I would be curious to know what people think, because if it's
people
just
stopped listening, they didn't know who Kyle was, and they're like, I don't know this guy.
If you didn't enjoy content at the beginning, hopefully you're getting to this part now.
Well, that's what I'm most curious about, is because we almost did this backwards, where we didn't start with the thing that most pickleballers would be interested in. I think some will be interested in the content stuff, but obviously
we could always do an intro and say, hey, just so you know, we're going to talk about content. It's super funny.
True, I could do that.
It's your podcast, so
yeah. Don't take my podcast prisoner.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about pickleball now, because I think an interesting question is, because now that you're playing some of the pro brackets or whatnot, what is the difference right now? What do you see as the biggest difference? Like, what is so tough about playing some of these pros, in your eyes? Because you're right there. You're definitely better than us, like me and Chris right now. And far better than Chris. But what is the difference? Like, what do you need to get to the next level and to find success?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's just, everything's harder when you move up a level. You think you figured it out at 4.0. And then you go to 4.5 and you're like, oh, shoot.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know anything. And then because you're like telling your friends, like, this is how you have to play. And that doesn't work at 4.5 or whatever. Then you go to 4.5, same thing. 5.0, the game's faster, or people are under control more. And then you start playing pro events. And the first pro event I ever played was at the Atlanta Open. And I was so excited. I looked at the bracket the night before, and playing Jesse Irvin and Kyle Yates. And I'm like, yo. And so I wrote a newsletter the night before I think it came out, because I think we were playing Friday. It went out Thursday night. I took a screenshot of the bracket, and I wrote a newsletter predicting what was going to happen. I'm like, it's my first pro tournament. We're playing 5-0 mixed, and we're going to be playing pro mix. We're playing pro mix on Friday. 5-0, kind of wish it was the other way around. But anyway, so here we go. We're probably it's going to be the upset of the tournament. Like, there's no question about it.
Did you actually say that?
Well, I predicted. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said, I was like, this is going to be the upset. And like, I'm going, because what else are you going to believe? Like, I'm going to go in and lose.
Right, exactly.
Then, I mean, your chances of winning go way down if you think that. So I go in, and we're like warming up on center court. It's like an 8 a.m. match, and me and playing with Jennifer Tavernier, just great player, love playing with her. And we're warming up, and then all of a sudden Kyle and Jesse are there, and they're warming up, and like, I'm still fresher, and I kind of look at these players as like this is amazing. Like, I'm not looking at them as equals, but still, I had the prediction the night before, so like, we're definitely winning this match. So they're going up, and I try to like say hi to Kyle, and Kyle's like, what's up? I try to say hi to Jessie. She's so intense and focused, she doesn't really talk to me. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna crush her, right? So then we're about to start the match, but there's no ref, so we're like, what the heck? All of a sudden, they say, hey, your match is actually second on center. Like, we've been warming up for 20 minutes, getting ready to go. So we step off, and like, Catherine Parento is about to come on, and Riley shows up late. He's playing like Kusmiter and maybe Salome or somebody else. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And so Riley shows up. He like does one stretch, and he goes out there, and they just like, they win, whatever. And I'm like, so that's how you become the best. You just show up late. show up late, do one stretch. I think they went down like 2-6 or something, but they came back. And so now we're sitting watching, and then we go back on court to start. And again, predictions in my head. I'm like, we are winning this. Like, come on, we're going to win this match. There's like, it's center court, 9 a.m. or 8:30, whatever time it was. And there's not that many fans, but I'm still feeling nervous because that center court at Atlanta is like kind of daunting. Yeah. And we go out there, and we lose 11-0, 11-0. I mean, just as I predicted. Just as I predicted. So I didn't write a newsletter for 3 weeks. No, but then here's the learning from it. Like, what was the hardest thing about that match? Well, I remember I walked away from that match, and I was like, wow, it was really hard to get to the kitchen. Oh, wow. They sped up every ball at us that they could. Right. And those were two things that I learned from that first pro match. And those two things actually still apply very much at the pro level, where I actually played against Riley and Jesse last weekend. And then I played against Riley and Matt the next day. I'll talk about that in a second. But getting to the kitchen is very difficult at the highest level. And like, it gets more difficult the higher you go. But like, what do you have to do? Well, you have to hit a decent third. Well, okay, say you don't have a decent third, which is fine. Well, number one, you need to miss it high, so you have a chance, because you miss into the net, points over. Yeah. Right. And then the next thing is you got to be good in transition. So you got to be able to hit a fifth. So, and like hit a reset ball into get up to the kitchen. You're not going to win a lot of points against, Riley and Matt or Kyle and Jesse being at the baseline where they're both at the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we couldn't get to the kitchen, and there was quick side outs. And then we had like the occasional, I think we got a few side outs on their serve, because it's easier because, we're returning, we're at the kitchen line. But even still, what happened when we were returning is, if you don't return it deep, you get punished. All right, they're going to rip the ball at you. So people are like, how do you beat these bangers? Well, the number one thing to beat a banger is actually to return the ball deep, which is something I'm working on a lot right now, is getting better at returns. Yeah. And so if you return it short, it's teed up for them. And then especially in like, if you're playing, your partner's getting crushed, right? So if you hit a short return, they're going to rip it at your partner, or they're going to rip it at you coming in. It's more difficult. But let's say I hit a good return, or we hit a good return. Well, they're getting to the kitchen every time. Yeah. Because they're really good in transition. But then when you get to the kitchen, now it's like that's game one. Do you get to the kitchen? So they got to the kitchen. That's like win one. Phase one. Then phase two would be like, okay, now what happens at the kitchen? And what happened in that match, and it's happened in a bunch of pro matches where I've played against Riley a few times now. I'll talk about that. But if they have any type of dead dink, and a dead dink is a ball that sits a little bit, right? It sits a little high, or it's soft, and it can not a lot of spin. Not a lot of spin. They have time, and they have space to make a decision. That ball is being sped up at you, right? And here's why. Number one, because that's what they're going to do a lot of times against any newer pro or anybody they don't think belongs, because they don't want to be playing some long 45-minute match in round one. They want to just get off the court, rest their legs, because they're playing, like Riley and Jesse, they're going to be playing Anna Lee and Ben later, right? So they're like, let's get this over with. And they're saying, I have better hands than you. That's like their mindset, right? So that happened with Jesse and Kyle. And then I played, Riley and Matt, and it's still a challenge for me right now. In the Masters, this was a few weekends ago, or last weekend, but depending on when you listen to this, where we win, me and Jennifer, we played again. We got through the qualifiers. We won 3 matches, tough matches. Like, we won our third qualifier match in in 3 games, like 12-10 against like Moo. I don't know if you guys know Moo and Jenna Klett. And like they're great players. It was a tough match. So we had to get there at 7. This is like this new format PPA has where you gotta, if you're entering pro and you're not a PPA player or like somebody that just kind of gets into the main draw, you show up at 7 a.m. I'm not sure if this is how it will be all year, but it is right now. Show up at 7 a.m. You play 2 or 3 qualifier matches depending on, you have to win them all. So me and Jennifer played 3 matches. I think there was like 20-something teams. I think 2 got out. Okay, so we got out of the qualifiers. That was an accomplishment. And then you get rewarded by either playing Ben and Annalie or Riley and Jesse or whoever Riley's playing with. And so we got to play them. And it was similar. Like, we had trouble getting to the kitchen. Here's the other thing. Here's why it's so hard to get to the kitchen. One, if you hit a high third, it's obvious. They're just like pounding it at you, right? But let's say you hit a pretty good third, that your third shot drop is a little like high, but it bounces. Well, Riley is one of the best at applying pressure on his 4th shot. So he hits a serve. I hit my, I hit my serve. He hits a return. Now I drop it. Now his 4th shot is he's trying to take it out of the air if he can, but if he can't, he's gonna keep you back as long. So he's gonna make you hit a difficult 5th, and that's a much different thing than 5-0.
On his 4th, what is it the placement of it? Is it the speed of it? Is it both?
You nailed it. You know what I mean? Like, but it is. It's like, but Riley's so good. I mean, he's like arguably the best player in the world. Him and Ben probably are. So he's picking a great spot. And if you're off balance, you're done because you're either hitting into the net out or you pop it up. And it's not always power. Like pickleball is so much about placement, you know. And me and Craig were talking about it. I got a chance to play rec with Annalie a few days ago. She was in town for the Major League Pickleball, and we played. I mean, she smokes the ball. And so you think of her as like someone just smokes it. But there's a lot of times where she doesn't smoke it like a speed up. She just hits it in a great spot. Yeah. Right? And then she smokes the next ball. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I'm learning is there's so many things to learn. How do you apply pressure on your 4th, but also then in transition? And so if I could encapsulate all this. And the same thing happened the next day when I played with this guy named Michael Lloyd. He's an unbelievable player. We played out tournaments together. And we made it through qualifiers. Then we played Matt and Riley and like speed up every ball. It's hard to get to the kitchen. I wasn't dropping very well. And also you're just nervous. You're playing like one of the best teams in the world. Your drops are going to be a little bit. So there's a component of that. So what am I learning? Well, I'm learning 1, I'm really working on returning the ball better. And number 2, I'm always working on transition, right? And then, because if you can't even get the transition, you could be practicing dinks all day, whatever. Right?
Yeah, you didn't get to hit a dink.
Yeah. Right? You could be practicing like the Yates speed up all day, whatever. Yep. Right? You could be practicing your speed ups and your hand speed all day, whatever. Yep. Right? Because you're never going to get there. Of course, it might work some on the return because you're already at the kitchen, but I'm working on those things. And then the other thing is just like belief. I'll tell you one more story. I was playing at Newport with Jen Tavernier again, and this was last year. And who do we play in the first round? In the first round, we played. Gosh, I can't. Who did we freaking play? We lost our first round against. Played Thomas and Leia in the second. Oh, okay. We played Colin and Sierra. Colin Johns and Sierra Gate and Leach. 2 good players, right? And we went down like 1-6. We ended up losing like 8 and 9. And then that was a good loss. We were like, oh, we played them pretty well. Those are 2 good players, right? Yeah. So I got a little confidence. But before that match, I woke up that morning and I was just like, F them. Everybody. I'm just like, F them. I'm just like, screw it. Because how are you ever going to beat anybody if you don't believe you're going to beat them? And I think to get to the highest level, you still got to start to believe that. And I'm trying to work on my belief right now because my behaviors, I believe, are pretty right. My behaviors are, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to train, I'm going to try to keep my body right. I'm going to watch a lot of film because I love the game. I just love studying it. But my belief has to be better. And that's what I'm trying to like work on that belief. The next match we played Thomas Wilson and Leia Jansen. And again, I'm friends with Thomas. He's like one of the great guys in pickleball. And we get on the court and I didn't really talk to him much. I said what's up to him and then I didn't talk because I'm friends with him. I'm this content guy. People are like, oh, what's up, right? But most people don't know I play a lot. So I'm just in my head, I'm like, F him.
I'm going to show him what's up.
And like Thomas is one of the nicest guys in pickleball.
Right. Yeah. And so, and the good news was Thomas and Leia just come off a tough match. So we're like, let's go. So we get up on them. We're up 11-6 and we end up losing 15-11. Right, and we were up 11-6, and for a time, like Jennifer was playing out of her mind. I was playing like great hands, and like she's resetting everything. We're at the kitchen, we're getting to the kitchen, and we're better players than them at this point in this game, right?
Yeah.
But then they were calm, they did their thing. I mean, I don't know if we really believe we could win because that whole tournament was like the tournament of almost, where we lost it. And then in the next day we played men's, we played Wyatt Stone, and we played and I'll finish on this, but Whitestone, we played Brandon French, and we lost 11-5 in the third, right? And again, like, I don't know. I mean, I think we believe we could win, but did we really? And then the final one was the next match we played, Hayden, Patrick Quinn, and Julian Arnold. And we were up, I think we were up like 12-7 or something, right? And we end up losing 15. And Julian starts Andiamoing and stuff. And so
that's how you know you've made it.
Oh, that's right. We ended up in it. And so then we end up losing 15-12. And again, the almost. So like this belief. So if I had to summarize into 3 things, it's like, how's your transition game? Can you get to the kitchen? And maybe it's just really, that's one of the main things. Can you get to the kitchen, and can you do things around the kitchen? And then, and like when I say do things, like create opportunities. Or just not screw up, like not pop the ball up. Like at beginner levels, part of being a good beginner is actually just minimizing mistakes. Yep. Because most beginners actually just give points away. The other team doesn't win them.
They don't win.
If you want to be a better beginner player, just hit the ball back in the court more, because everyone's ripping the ball as hard as they can. It's going into the net. It's going up into the sky. Just like work on hitting it to where they're not, or hitting.
I mean, honestly, even up to probably almost 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I think that's how most of it is.
It goes back to what I always thought and said. I think like 4 and below, it's whoever makes the most mistakes loses. 4-5 and up to maybe like 5-0, whoever can capitalize on the most mistakes wins. And then 5-0 plus, it's whoever can create opportunities wins.
And that's what I've been noticing at the pro level as well. So I'm writing a newsletter about this right now, actually, which is just like my improvement flatlining and just trying to figure out what's next. I think we all are trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I still think I'm a little ways away, but I see there's potential. And I mean, my goal is like to be a top 50 player by the end of the year. That's just kind of a vision I have for myself. Who knows if that's, but all I can do, I can say those words, but all I can do is wake up every day and try to work to become that thing. Yeah. Right. And then see what happens at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, that work and consistency turns into belief. Eventually.
You're my coach.
What do you think right now has been the most frustrating part of either playing in these pro tournaments or even just the training? Because while I haven't had it, I've maybe had it once or twice in pickleball on the content side of things. I think just the nature of doing something over and over and over so much all the time, like pickleball consumes my life now. Like basically almost my whole day of being awake is pickleball. Like I've had, a small burnout period and it was like very frustrating. Have you had that with the training yet, where it's like, this is more frustrating than it is fun in this moment?
No.
Not once?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow. I'm actually impressed.
I get mad all the time, but I'm not. I love it. Like I love trying to get better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was so mad this morning. I just like lost focus for 10 minutes and I couldn't make a ball.
Yeah.
And that was so aggravating. But I zoom out and I'm like, no, this is fun.
Yeah.
Because getting better at anything is hard.
Yeah.
Like getting better at speed cubing was hard. Getting better at videography was hard. But I mean, then you try to acquire the skill. And then at some point, I mean, nobody has quit. Sometimes it's the right time. You should quit and do something else because maybe you don't love it. But I know I love this thing and I know what I want to get out of this thing. If I quit, I would regret that. Yeah. Or if I just stopped. But I know that if I stick with it, it's like, my friend would always say this line he heard from somebody. He's like, all good things are on the other side of hard, So it's like, just get through the hard. Or like, there's a graphic I once saw where like this guy's like in a mine. He's like trying to get to this treasure, and he stops right there, and it's like right on the other side, and the other person goes through. It's like that. Just it's in my head. I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to get that treasure, right? So, and then it's so much more satisfying when you get to that place. You're like, no, I went through the hard. But I mean, if you give up and you do love the thing, well, that's just no one looks back and says, I'm so glad I gave up.
Yeah.
But there's times to give up on other things. You're like, this is a waste of time. It's not valuable.
I do think that's true, though, because I've had probably some of the most rewarding things I have done, or some of the things that have led to the best things in my life, in career-wise at least, were very difficult. One of the very first documentary I ever did not want to finish it. I was like just very stuck in my own head. Almost gave up many times. Did that. That led to Netflix, which led to a bunch of other, like a TED Talk, led to a bunch of other things.
Keep humble bragging. That led to ESPN. that led to being a monumental figure in the world. And then all of a sudden, and that's how I made my first $1 million.
And that's how I control pickleball.
I do say Chris Olsen's the most influential man in pickleball.
He does say that.
I
every
say all the
call.
time because this guy makes these paddle reviews, and like I look at the comments, and people are just like taking this man's word. I mean,
as the gospel.
And like pros watch this man's.
They do.
Because you do such a nice job, and like you're honest about him, and you don't pull punches, which is awesome,
Well, I think that's what some of the pros have started to love, is the bluntness. Which, just a really quick side note, I think this is the funniest thing ever. I tell Will this all the time.
What?
You can't win when you're blunt or if you praise a paddle, because if I praise it, oh, they bought you out. If you slam it, they're like, oh, you're a show for another company. Like, it doesn't matter which way it goes. Like,
I just think it's funny. Like, I feel like, I mean, this is probably not totally true, but I mean, it pretty much is. Chris could either like end a company, or he could like build a company, depending on how he feels about the paddle. Which is actually like, I'm actually kind of concerned it's too much power for Chris. Like, that's why we need you to continue. We need to continue like growing your paddle reviews, because I mean, Chris doesn't know everything, but he kind of does. You know?
I'm here to keep Chris in check.
You want to know what he told me last night?
Who?
And I felt Will, and I felt so freaking justified. Okay, the Legacy Pro is one of the gonna be one of the most popular paddles. It's incredibly good.
Yes,
so good. I kept saying this paddle hits so hard, and for the soft game, I have such a hard time controlling it. And when he drilled with you, he was like, dude, like, I finally started to understand what you were saying about that. It was the first time I felt like I experienced some of those things were harder, and he realized it was the ball, because I have been playing with Duras this whole time, and he had been playing with Franklin's. And so once he started playing with the Dura, he kind of realized like, oh my gosh, this thing really is a rocket.
I can see why people are having a tough time, and I could also see why Chris is having a tough time. You know, not only because he's 3.5 at best, but also because of the ball. But also, this was the first time, because when I play and I test them, I play it in game, right? That's how people are mostly playing. They're not doing it for drilling or whatever. So when I was drilling with you and Jennifer yesterday, it was the first time we were like going at it, drilling and like being intense and serious about it. And I was like, okay, I have to really focus to like control this thing. And I was like, okay, if I'm having a tough time like adjusting and really making this paddle work, which I still can, but I was like, if I'm having issues, then like other people who are watching my videos and whatnot are probably having issues as well.
And the whole reason I say this is because this one is a brag, unlike the other stuff, which I did have a point. As soon as he said that, I was like, I knew I was right. I was like, I know my stuff when I'm talking about paddles.
Well, it's true.
Well, I never said you were wrong though. Just to be fair.
But a lot of people thought I was wrong. Not you so much.
If you test, I mean, you always test with Duras?
The ball kind of flip-flops a lot. Recently, it's just been Duras because of the upcoming tournaments. But because of this experience for both of us, I do think I'm going to be a little more intentional talking about probably what ball I was using or how it felt.
I think you should, because it
makes a big difference.
I mean, I played yesterday with some people, and it was a couple people playing in MLP, so we were using the Franklin, because I switched to the Franklin for that because it's so cold in Phoenix. And it's just such a different game. Like,
it is.
It was actually fun because, I mean, sometimes you play with a Dura and cold. It's a very different game. Like,
it's almost scary.
It's like hard. I mean, you're ripping the ball because it's harder to block it. It's moving faster. It's, if you play, and drops are harder.
Yeah.
And like I was playing with my friend Pesa, who was like, and he rips the crap out of the ball.
Pesa's so good.
Pesa. Okay, quick side note on Pesa. Pesa Tioni, I really do think he's like the most underrated player in pickleball, because. And it's a travesty. Is that the right word, travesty?
Dude is like probably one of the most athletic people in all of pickleball.
One of the best fun most people to watch.
And also the most humble kid I've ever met. Like,
I look at his leg and I'm like, dude, that leg is bigger than my whole body.
No, it's like, and I feel Pesa is just I don't know what's the word, underlooked or overlooked. Yeah, he's roundly looked. Okay, no, he's unbelievable hands. He has unbelievable power. He does these crazy things and I play with him all the time.
And he's a lefty.
He's a lefty. He's tricky, and he does things that I've just never seen other players do. And I mean, everyone in Phoenix knows Pesa because Pesa is the guy who, and he's also the guy everyone wants to do well. Yeah, and so. I don't know. I think I think, you know, with MLP, it's always tough. Like, I don't know how all the players got selected or what they looked at, or you kind of maybe have to know people. I don't know all the situations. There's a lot of things going on, but like, to me, I don't know all the players, but it's hard for me to believe how many players are in it. 48 guys. 48. Yeah. It's hard for me to believe that there's 48 guys better than Pesa.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
And if there is, like, why is that guy not an alternate? And it could be because people don't know him or whatever. But like, anyway,
I'll put him on the map. I'll challenge to like a pros versus Joes or something.
He would beat you 11 to -1.
Okay.
He would take one away from you.
That's supposed to happen against me. Maybe not Will.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Pesa, I mean, everyone. The last thing I'll say on this is he does this little backhand flick thing. It's just so stupid. Like, we'll be playing, and he's a lefty, so he plays on the right side all the time. But if you hit a dink that's kind of high, I can't even, like, I mean, it's kind of like okay, JW has a good backhand flick, Ben has a good backhand flick, but Pesa does this like weird thing that he hits the ball and you don't even move. Like, you're just so surprised he hit it, and you'll just like watch it in slow motion, like go over your shoulder, and you'll look back and it's like 6 feet in, and you'll look back at Pesa, and he's so humble. He's like, it was lucky. Like, shut up, Pesa. It wasn't lucky. Like, stop that.
Yeah, that's the 3,000th time you've done it.
Is Pesa the guy who apologizes for hitting the net courts?
Not when he plays with me now, because now when he plays with me, he always looks at me and he goes, "Take that," or something like that. But
I like him even more
Pesa
now.
knows that Kyle will just body bag you if you apologize.
No, if he like, he would if in a game, I think. But I'm trying to coach him out of it. So
No, that's great. I can't even remember what the original point was. I think we're just
he is the Dura. He's like.
Well, I was just gonna circle back all the way to you were saying too much power or whatever, and then I just had to laugh at him feeding my ego. I'm like, look. You guys maybe don't want to take my advice on pickleball on how to get better. I understand that, but if there's paddles, there are a few people on earth who might have hit as many paddles as I have.
This is true.
So,
fair enough.
Yes, there may be a lot of power there, but hey, I try and use it wisely.
Try to use it wisely. Yeah, I mean it's
as best I possibly can.
Paddlegate, man.
Paddlegate, it's real.
Check a recent episode.
Yeah, check the recent episode if you want controversy.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's like. Maybe there's a couple more things we could go over here, but I feel like it's covered a lot of like the main things I really wanted to talk about. Kyle, do you have anything else you thought was interesting or want to chat about?
Who has the best backhand flick in the game?
I mean, probably JW.
JW. JW's up there. I would also say Caden Seward. I met him at minor league pickleball. I think he has a really good.
Oh, I think I played rec with him one time.
He has this very interesting thing where he holds the paddle, where the point of the paddle face like is pointing towards his body. Most times it points towards the ground, right? When you do the flick, right? His, I feel like, points towards his body, and he just rotates it around, and it is a thing of beauty.
Yeah. It's funny because you watch like JW and you're like, how does he move his wrist like that? Or like even Ben has that.
AJ Kohler too.
AJ Kohler. Oh, yeah,
AJ Kohler's. Oh, yeah, true.
AJ Kohler. You can't not AJ Kohler.
So me and my friends are always like, we just talk pickleball all the time. So like on the phone at like 5 at night. One time I was talking to my friend Joe. I literally drove 30 minutes the wrong direction. I was so engaged in this third shot drop conversation.
The GPS is like recalculating.
Yeah. And so I pull in. I'm like, hey Joe, I'm about to be at my house. I pull into this neighborhood, and I'm like, anyway. So I think that's why a third shot drop is a good decision. All right, talk to you later, Joe. And I pull, I'm like, this isn't my house. I type in my address. It's 34 minutes away. I had just been driving for 30 minutes. I called Joe. I'm like, hey, Joe, you got 30 more minutes? And so I was like, can we talk
that's how
dinking?
Pickleball is.
Dinking lobs? Anyway, so, but we're talking about, we like talk about these things, like how do you get a backhand flick like JW? So I've been like working on forearm strength and like just like wrist mobility and stuff. And so I'm like looking for anything. Like the other day I was, we were in the Masters and we were looking up Google, like how do you get faster in hand speed, and like for hand speed, it was like stop drinking caffeine. There was like a list of 17. It was like get better sleep. It was like I was like eat Oreos. It was all these different things, right? So we were just messing with them, and then we were talking about backhand flicks, and like I have this thing. I just happen to have it right here because I didn't know we were going to talk about this. So it's a thing called
anyone listening, they're like, this part's just pointless.
No, it's not. It's called like no. I'll verbalize. It's called is gyro or gyro 1 minute
gyro ball.
Yeah, gyro. So basically, it's like my friend Craig has this, and you basically just spin this thing with your wrist, and you can hear it a little bit probably.
Yeah,
they can definitely hear it.
They can hear it, right? They can definitely hear it. And it's just like you do it for long enough, and it like really starts to strengthen. Okay, and it helps grip strength. So I've been doing.
Oh, I see. So there's a counterweight inside the ball,
and you do it both ways. So I've been doing this every single day. Okay, and I am feeling it. I'm doing like some farmer's carry type stuff at the gym where you like holds like 70-pound dumbbells and walk around. I mean, anything to get a better backhand flick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this is pretty tough.
It's tough. It really makes
These are probably cheap on Amazon.
It's like $15. I don't have an affiliate link, but if I did.
With that.
Yeah, that was
I definitely
going to take my finger off.
Well, so Craig was like, he's like, hey man, you just got to keep that in your car, and just like when you're driving. So I have it in my car all the time, and I'm just like doing forearm strength and stuff. And I do it on both hands because I don't want to have like a massive right forearm and like a.
That actually happened to my brother.
Yeah,
he was like almost a pro bowler. His right forearm is massive, and his left one is.
And it's crazy how that it's like, I don't know if that's like a bad thing for your body, but like it just seems not right. So like make sure you get on the left too.
Yeah, do it on both.
But so here's the last thing though. My buddy Luke, I was telling him about pickleball, and he was like, yeah, well, what are you working on? I'm like, well, I'm trying to get a better backhand flick. He's like, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, you need like good forearm strength, wrist mobility. And he goes, have you ever done what's it called? Oh, Wing Chun. And Wing Chun is
martial arts.
Yeah, it's like a specific martial art that you don't use weapons for it. It's like I don't know a ton about it, but he was explaining it. It's like hand combat, but it's like a defense.
I think isn't it the martial arts that Bruce Lee's master used? I think
potentially.
Yeah,
we could look it up.
Okay.
No, we don't have to look at it right now. But
I might look it up.
So he's like it's a form of Wing Chun, and so he goes, let's do it with me right now. Okay, so if you're listening to this, if you're watching, I'll kind of show it to you. If you're listening, I'll just verbalize. But basically, you stand up and do it, but I'll just do it sitting down because we're at a table, and you kind of tilt your feet inward. What do you call this? When people walk like this.
I don't know what it's called.
Okay, but you have like your
bow-legged.
Yeah, bow-legged a little bit, like your feet are inward. And I don't remember why he said this, but I was just doing what he said. So he said, do this. And then what you do is you stick both your arms straight out in front of you. And you guys want to do this with me or no?
Yeah, I'll do it with you.
Everyone's doing this.
And real quick, I did look it up, and it is the martial arts. I don't know if it was invented, but it was popularized by Bruce Lee's master Ip Man.
Okay.
And it's for close combat. Have you ever seen those old
close combat?
Have you seen those old kung fu movies where they have like the wooden doll with the sticks moving out, and they're doing like the quick hand movements and like pushing out and pushing the wrist away? That's Wing Chun.
So it's like, and so he was saying this was like one of the training methods. Feet are together. Feet are together, and they kind of point toward. You have both your hands out in front. Okay. And what you're going to do is, and if you're just listening right now, basically our arms are right out in front of us, and your hands are open, like as wide as you can make them. And then what you're going to do is go ahead and close your hands as tight as you can. So we'll just do like 15 reps right now. But like if you do 50 of these, we're going to do 3 different things. It's so hard. So you open, close, open, close. You're doing it for 15 reps as fast as you can. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Arms straight. Cut to our facial expressions. I don't know how many reps. Okay, stop. Okay. Oh, it's so painful.
And that actually does burn.
It's so painful. And then the second one is you have your hands like straight out. Your hands are open, and then you're basically you just go watch this on the YouTube channel. But also you're gonna like your hand's gonna go down while the other hand goes up, down, up, down, up, and you're only gonna count.
Oh, it's like a flipper.
1, 2. So do 15, 3 like this as fast as you can.
Like you're swimming.
You're swimming. You're like, we look so awkward right now.
This is how I fought with my brother when I was younger.
We look so dumb right now. Look, I hope this is the hook of the whole thing. Okay, so then that's the second one, and the third one is you turn your hands kind of like I don't even know how to say this out loud. Again, just go watch the YouTube on
vertical.
The vertical-ish. And then you're gonna go down, up, 15, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Karate chopping.
Okay,
but I think the key is that your hands are your arms have to be stretched out.
You do not want your arms to be bent. You want them straight.
Yes,
right? Straight like this. And so anyway, he's like, do 50 of these. So I did 50 on all 3 sets, and he's like, feel my forearm. I've been doing this, and I felt his forearm, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no chance JW's forearm is anything like your forearm. And so then I'm like, I'm going to start doing this. So between this like gyro ball, doing like hangs where I just hang on a bar at the gym and like pick up I was picking up 70-pound dumbbells the other day. I'm just standing there. I did like stand there for 60 minutes holding these dumbbells, and people are just looking at me, and I'm just like nodding my head to them. Like, wait, what are you doing? Are you going to use those? I'm like, I am using them. And like doing this Wing Chun like training. And so it's all because people are like, what do you do all this for? It's like, for the backhand flick, baby. It's all for the backhand flick. And so at some point, someone's going to see me do a backhand flick, and it's going to be sick. Because I'm not there yet. I'm probably going to be in a few months.
People are probably going to look at this or hear this now, laugh, and then they're going to see you on the tour just hit the nastiest flick, like pelt someone in the chest, probably put them on the ground, and they're like...
I'm going to edit a montage, and then after, I'm going to put...
Cut to this.
No, I'm going to cut to this, but then I'm also going to cut to, like, Bruce Lee or Ip Man practicing on a wooden doll, and then I'm going to put your face on it. It was like, this is how Kyle trains for fast hands.
Listen, other pros, they wouldn't give out. I mean, I think some of it's natural. Probably for some people, like some people have wrist mobility, like unbelievable wrist mobility.
Yes.
So I think who knows if it's natural or it's worked on, but I'm like, I know it's not natural for me, so I'm just decided I'm gonna make it like happen. Yeah. Because I'm like that backhand. I mean, Anna Bright said the other day, she's like, I've been working on my backhand flick. She said that on a podcast or something, and I'm like, yeah, like it's a great shot. It's really hard to read when somebody, especially when you're playing the left, if they miss a dink slightly high, you see Ben do it all the time, right? He like kind of flicks it at the right shoulder, and it's just like so hard to guard. So unless you're playing a lefty like Pace, then he sticks it back in your chest and you're welted for 2 weeks. But anyway.
But yes, no, I think that's interesting. I actually do need to work on that because I've just found with certain backhand things, it probably is just a forearm wrist thing, but like I just don't feel like I get the power out of it I want. And for a while I thought it was a shoulder thing. Could be both. Who knows? I'm not that big.
Well, it's a different shot, I think. I think like sometimes there's a high ball and you do want to like generate top spin while you also have like a shoulder swing to put the ball away. Yeah. But this is more like the ball's not high enough for you to hit like a backhand overhead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The ball's lower because you want to generate that's what JW does or AJ. And AJ might have the most top spin. He generates so much top spin. And the ball's not, it is hard, but it doesn't have to be super hard. It's so much top spin that you have to like short half the ball because it's hard to pick up.
Have you ever asked him what he does?
Yeah, I asked him actually the other day, and I can't tell you what he told me.
Oh, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean he's because these guys don't want to share their secrets, and
you're still in that pro stage where you don't realize that you shouldn't share these things for yourself.
You know what? Though? I do have one belief on that. It's like. Because it was one of those things, I worked this one job where like, let's not share everything with this company that's coming in because they might steal from us. Well, okay, I do think there's validity to it for sure. But I was like, let's share everything because then they'll understand how hard it was to get to the place that we're at, and they probably won't do it anyway, right? So I think with training, I get it. Like you don't want to maybe teach some strategy things because people might steal.
Is that what we just did with the content? Did we just scare we gave it all away and we scared them off?
No, because it's actually so easy.
Or we inspired
for the
them.
content. Yeah, for the content, just make one video. That's your assignment. If you want to make content, you make one video and then see how it goes. And don't make it. You have a 1 hour window. You make one video. You edit it in CapCut on your phone. It's free. Just go do it and don't get caught up in everything. Like, that's the homework. And I think, but for this like my thought is, you could share. You could learn. You could listen to every Kobe Bryant video on his training, but do you think other guys were going to go train like Kobe? No. No, he's going to wake up at 4, he's going to train, he's going to wake up at, go back at 10, he's going to get back at 2, he's going to break the game down. And like, you can know the secrets, but I learned this, like the greatest distance in the world is the distance between knowing something and doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know I shouldn't be, eating ice cream 9 days a week. And I don't. I eat it. It's 8 days a week, right? but you still do. Like, you're supposed to eat healthier, but you don't. You're supposed to work out more, but you don't. You should drill things that are happening most in games, but you don't. You only play. Like, if that's what you want to get better at. So that's my thought. Is like, yeah, share whatever you want. I'll share everything, and except for AJ's backhand flick secret. Well, actually, I don't think he told me it.
Okay.
I've actually never even met AJ.
That I know is not true. Well, Kyle, this is a really fun episode. You may have taken the cake for longest episode, maybe.
No.
Shay's might still be longer, but
How long was his?
No.
his was over 2 hours.
I think our podcast on the paddles.
No.
How long have we been going?
I thought that was like 2
no,
hours.
No, you're right.
30.
You're right. That was 2.5. You're right. That is
Exactly.
Have we been going for a while?
We're at probably about 2 hours.
Well, I mean, let's go. I want to win.
This is competitor in him.
This is where I get to control.
Somebody is in the car right now, like, please stop. I'm almost to my destination. Or like, it's like the kids have to go to bed. I don't have any time. I want to watch a different show now.
They weren't at their destination. They went 30 mintes past their destination and have to turn back, and now they want to hear the extra 30 minutes we're going to talk.
And sorry, Chris, we can't end. But last thing, what's the really popular NPR? NPR had this thing. I read a thing that said one of their podcasts, like, we try to make a podcast. We call it the driveway conversation, because we want the podcast to be so good that when someone's on their way home from work, they get home and they sit in their driveway to listen to the rest of the podcast, because one, they don't want to hear the screaming kids yet, but two, they want to, it's so good they have to hear the end of the pod because they just love it so much. And so while I know that nobody else is still listening to us right here, they've gone way inside and deleted this one. I want that for you guys.
You let us know if you made it to the end of this. Like, I don't know, you might get a treat or something.
Have to say,
and I was like, I'm impressed.
Hashtag overtime. Put in the comments. Hashtag overtime.
There you go.
I'm just trying to see if my video is going viral, but it's not. Back to that video from the very beginning.
Nice. We didn't go viral. That's good. I was right again. All right. We will catch you guys in the next episode.
Peace out.